Chapter 548. After thinking about it, Wang Daoyuan felt that he couldn't bear this alone. He had to drag those bastards from the underworld sect down with him. The refined corpses had been out for so many years. No matter how stupid the underworld sect spies were, they should have figured out the situation of the refined corpses. The underworld sect's main inheritance was the corpse Dao and the ghost Dao. The Thousand Spirit sect's strength didn't just depend on the number of golden core cultivators, but also on the powerful demon beasts. If the underworld sect had a dozen more rank 4 refined corpses, their strength would definitely surpass the Thousand Spirit sect. They would naturally pay special attention to such a great opportunity. However, the refined corpses had always been gathered together before. A dozen rank 4 refined corpses guarded the secret realm. With the underworld sect's ability, even if all their golden core cultivators were to be sacrificed, the refined corpses wouldn't be full. Now that the refined corpses were scattered, the underworld sect would most likely be envious. If he wanted to drag those bastards down with him, he couldn't do it openly. If he told the underworld sect about this, they would definitely think that he was plotting something. This matter couldn't be rushed. Otherwise, if the underworld sect didn't take the bait, he would have to face the refined corpses and the possible beast tide alone. At present, he didn't know the situation of the refined corpses. He had to wait for Devouring Spirit to find out more information before making arrangements. Refined corpses didn't have spirits, only spirit essences. Moreover, the spirit essences were completely integrated with the body. Devouring Spirit's ability was to attack the soul. It didn't have much destructive power against the refined corpses. Refined corpses had almost no divine sense. Their eyes weren't very good either, but they were extremely sensitive to auras. Devouring Spirit was a hidden expert. Refined corpses couldn't find him. It wouldn't be a problem to hide and monitor the refined corpses. Before that, he couldn't help much. He could only continue to comprehend formations and become a rank 4 low-grade formation master as soon as possible. The administrator's residence still had to prepare early. There was no need to inform 5th granduncle about the whole story. He could just let him recruit more people into the devil-slaying division and the war division. The administrator's residence had a surplus of more than 1 million spirit stones every year. They could still afford to recruit more people. Once there was a beast tide, more people would be of some use. After arranging all these, Wang Daoyuan took out a blank formation disc and started to inscribe rank 4 formation patterns. Half a month later, a tiger roar came from the space of the spirit pearl. Tu Yoming's doppelganger was shocked. Other than the scarlet-feathered crow, the other spirit beasts were also scared to the point of lying on the ground. The red-feathered crow was sleeping on the top of the blood-fire hibiscus tree. It was awakened by Yun Yi's roar and let out a warning cry. Wang Daoyuan's panoramic perception clone Tu Yuming saw that Yun Yi had already become a low-grade tier 3 demonic beast. After all, it was only a 3rd-rank demonic beast. Naturally, it didn't dare to go against the red-feathered crow. It immediately let out a low growl to show that it had surrendered, and the red-feathered crow didn't pay any more attention to it. After advancing, not only did Yun Yi's body not increase in size, but it was also much smaller than before. She was only 30 feet long, and her fat had also decreased by a lot. At least now that he was standing on flat ground, his stomach wasn't dragging on the ground. His appearance hadn't changed much, but the stripes on his body had changed. Previously, Fat Tiger was white with grayish-black stripes, but now it was pitch black. Especially the word King above his head, it was as black as ink. His eyes were originally no different from ordinary tiger-type demonic beasts. They were all yellowish-brown, but now they had also become pitch black. There was also a thick baleful aura and yin qi in them. Wang Daoyuan's soul entered the space of the spirit pearl. Although Yun Yi wouldn't have any malice towards him, his soul still felt threatened. It seemed that after Yun Yi advanced, she had the effect of restraining souls. This wasn't surprising. The divine beast White Tiger had the effect of deterring evil spirits. According to myths and legends, there was a white tiger that specialized in eating evil spirits in Dushua Mountain's Ghost Gate, Shintiyule. Ordinary tigers had the ability to control ghosts. Yun Yi should be considered a mutated tiger now, so it was normal for her to have such an ability. He let his clone check the 10,000 Spirit Atlas and the records left behind by the 5-element spiritual master, but he didn't find the situation after Yun-Yi advanced. He wasn't sure what state Yun-Yi was in now. He took Yun-Yi out of the space of the Spirit Pearl and placed her in the cave. Soon, Yun-Yi adapted to her current cultivation. The Yin-Qi and baleful aura gradually converged. Other than the spiritual energy fluctuations becoming stronger, there wasn't much difference from usual. However, her eyes were still pitch black and she looked even more ferocious. Generally, after a demonic beast reached rank 3, they would have the ability to change size. Wang Daoyuan asked Yun-Yi to try shrinking, but she rolled on the ground and wanted to roast meat. He asked his clone to roast some fierce blood pig meat. Yun-Yi ate more than 50 kilograms before she reluctantly agreed to show off. Its fat body emitted a huge fluctuation of spiritual energy. Wang Daoyuan carefully sensed that Yun-Yi's spiritual energy fluctuation had changed. Yun-Yi Tiger was a pure water attribute spirit beast. Naturally, its spiritual energy fluctuation was only of the water attribute, but now it actually had a faint trace of the metal attribute. He didn't know if it was because the blood essence used to refine the bloodline pill came from the golden-eyed jade tiger, causing its spiritual energy attribute to be affected. As long as Yun-Yi was fine, it didn't matter what attribute it had. It was the first time Yun-Yi had become small, so she was still a little unfamiliar with it. Her body slowly shrank, and it took half a cup of tea's time to shrink to the limit. The current Yun-Yi was only a foot long and looked like a fat cat. However, a spirit beast's weight would not change when it became big or small. Ordinary people really couldn't carry it. After teasing it for a while, Wang Daoyuan continued to practice inscribing array patterns. Half a month later, the clone returned from the depths of the heaven/mountain range and returned to a place less than 5,000 kilometers away from the Jade Spring Peak. Wang Daoyuan sensed the clone's movements and checked the movements of the refined corpses from his memories. These 4 refined corpses went deep into the heaven/mountain range and killed 3 low-grade rank 4 demonic beasts along the way. The demonic beasts below rank 4 suffered heavy losses. Those who were lucky enough to survive were also running around. However, their grades were low and didn't have much of an impact on the mountain south. Low-grade demonic beasts didn't have enough intelligence and weren't strong enough. They had no other choice but to run. However, rank 4 demonic beasts didn't lack strength or intelligence. It was just that their personalities were affected by their nature and were more reckless and irritable. However, being reckless and irritable wasn't stupid. They also knew how to find help. A few rank 4 demonic beasts worked together to resist the refined corpses. Thunder attribute demonic beasts were relatively rare, but there were still many fire attribute demonic beasts. Soon, 7 rank 4 demonic beasts gathered. Among them, 2 were mid-grade rank 4. There were 3 fire attribute demonic beasts. This strength was enough to kill the 4 refined corpses. These refined corpses weren't like headless flies. Instead, it was as if someone was controlling them. After they were at a disadvantage against the demonic beasts, they didn't continue to fight them head-on. Instead, they fled to a cave with dense Yin-Qi and hid inside. Moreover, they even brought the 3 rank 4 demonic beasts in. The demonic beasts or humans killed by the refined corpses would also be tainted with corpse qi and death qi. Now that they were in a place with dense Yin-Qi, it wouldn't be long before they turned into zombies. These zombies weren't as strong as the refined corpses. However, demonic beasts had strong bodies to begin with, so they wouldn't be too weak after turning into zombies. They still had strength comparable to ordinary rank 4 demonic beasts. After a few years, there would be 3 more rank 4 zombies. Demonic beasts also didn't dare to enter a place with dense Yin-Qi. In this kind of place, the refined corpse's strength would increase greatly. On the contrary, the strength of demonic beasts and human cultivators would be affected. If they rashly went down like this, they would probably be delivering food to the refined corpses. The 7 rank 4 demonic beasts were guarding the entrance of the cave. They didn't dare to go down, nor did they dare to leave. They were still calling out to the demonic beasts that they were friends with to deal with these refined corpses together. When Devouring Spirit returned, It had already gathered 9 demonic beasts. After understanding the movements of the 4 refined corpses, Wang Daoyuan asked Zhou Luan about the movements of the refined corpses in the Yellow Spring's secret realm. Those guys didn't make any moves. He let out a sigh of relief. At least they wouldn't affect Shannon for a short period of time. Master had previously said that he had prepared a magic tool to deal with rank 4 high-grade refined corpses. However, he still needed about 10 years to nurture it. Now, he would delay as long as he could. When Master's magic tool arrived, he wouldn't be afraid of these refined corpses. Chapter 549. Wang Daoyuan ordered Devouring Spirit to continue monitoring the situation of the 4 refined corpses and report any abnormalities at once. He stayed in the cave abode and continued to study Tier 4 array formations. After more than 3 years of unremitting efforts, Wang Daoyuan finally succeeded in refining a set of low-grade Tier 4 array discs. To be able to refine a low-grade Tier 4 array disc meant that he was definitely a low-grade Tier 4 array master. Now, he could already set up the Myriad Water Origin Array. Using array discs to set up the Mountain Protection Array was not stable enough. It was best to set up a permanent array core. The Myriad Water Origin Array was a pure water attribute array formation. The Jade Dragon Spring Spirit Vein was also a pure water attribute spirit vein. Therefore, it was best to refine the array core with water attribute materials. When the array was attacked, the array core would also be under great pressure. The strength of the array core material could not be too bad. There was no need to choose the materials to refine the array core. When the ancestor was still alive, the array core material used was deep-sea iron crystal sand. This was a high-grade Tier 3 water attribute metal material. Its strength was not bad. It was not enough to refine offensive and defensive Dharma artifacts. It was usually used as an auxiliary material. It was completely fine to refine the array core directly. Back then, when several golden core cultivators besieged the Jade Spring Peak, the Myriad Water Origin Array did not fail. There was no need to collect the deep-sea iron crystal sand now. The family had already prepared it. Ever since the family developed Fallen Dragon Ridge and had a large surplus every year, they began to purchase deep-sea iron crystal sand from Wanchuan Market. This had been going on for more than 100 years. Even when the family was suppressed a few years ago, they had never stopped purchasing. It was just that the purchase volume was a little lower. After Wang Daoyuan formed his core, no one suppressed the Wang family anymore. The purchase volume also increased greatly. In these years, they had purchased more than 100 caddies every year. From the name, one could tell that this thing was produced in the sea. The deep-sea iron crystal sand that the Wang family purchased was transported from Linhai State to Wanchuan Market. The price was not too expensive. One caddy was only about 1,000 spirit stones. Now, the family had accumulated more than 5,000 caddies of deep-sea iron crystal sand. It was more than enough to refine the array core and the connecting materials. Wang Daoyuan also planned to be generous for once. The array core and the connecting materials were all refined with deep-sea iron crystal sand. It was guaranteed that there would be no problems when it was attacked by a strong enemy. The Great Mountain Protection Array was the key to the survival of the clan. What was a few million spirit stones to it? He told third brother that he was going to start setting up the Myriad Water Origin Array. The third brother hurried to the treasury and took out all the deep-sea iron crystal sand that he had accumulated for more than 100 years, delivering them to the entrance of Wang Daoyuan's cave. Wang Daoyuan got the materials and went into seclusion. This time, he did not rely on his avatar. Every formation eye and every connecting material were refined by him personally. He could guarantee that there would not be any problems. The Myriad Water Origin formation had a total of 41 formation eyes. It took him half a year to finish refining the formation eyes and refining materials. After that, it took him a year to inscribe the runes. Now that the formation eye and the connecting materials were all refined, it was time to start setting up the formation. There was no need to choose the location of the formation eye or the method of connection. The remains of the formation from back then were still there. Wang Daoyuan deduced for a while and didn't find a better way to set up the array. He might as well use these old places to continue setting up the array. The myriad water origin formation was both an offensive and defensive formation. It also had a defensive light shield. Even if the opponent knew where the formation eye was, they wouldn't be able to threaten it from the outside. He only needed to leave some measures around the formation eye to prevent thieves from destroying it. The work of setting up the formation disk and connecting the runes was relatively simple. It only took him a few days to finish setting it up. The core formation eye was naturally placed in the ancestral temple. He entered the ancestral temple and closed the black tortoise water repelling formation. Then, he activated the myriad water origin formation. A wave of spirit energy that only golden core cultivators could have instantly erupted. A huge spirit energy shield enveloped the entire Jade Spring Peak. All the spirit energy in the Jade Spring Peak spirit vein was absorbed by the myriad water origin formation. This was spirit energy that could provide for several golden core cultivators to cultivate at the same time. Its power was self-evident. Then, he let the 12th uncle control the formation while he tested the power of the myriad water origin formation from the outside. He rode a cloud and flew outside the formation. The 12th uncle used the power of the formation to cast the water dragon technique and condensed a water dragon that was nearly 10,000 feet long. The spirit energy of this water dragon had reached the level of a low-grade 4th-tier spirit energy. Wang Daoyuan took out the white tiger blade and used the sword shadow divine light technique to condense 10 sword shadows. Now, the power of one of the sword shadows of the sword shadow divine light technique had already reached 40% of the power of the white tiger blade. The water dragon swept towards him. 5 sword shadows were released at the same time, and the water dragon was destroyed. Then, 2 more water dragons attacked him, but they were shattered again. This was the characteristic of the myriad water origin formation. The formation's spirit energy was endless. In terms of consumption, how could a golden core cultivator compete with a level 4 spirit vein that was hundreds of miles long? Moreover, the power of an early-stage golden core cultivator's water dragon technique was not a joke. Ordinary early-stage golden core cultivators could only resist 1 water dragon. However, the 12th uncle could condense 3 water dragons at the same time with his late-stage Violet Palace realm cultivation. If Wang Daoyuan used the water dragon technique, he could condense more than 10 water dragons at the same time. Moreover, the power of the water dragons he condensed was very close to the mid-stage golden core cultivator. Of course, condensing too many water dragons at the same time would consume a lot of spiritual energy. After the 12th uncle formed his core and controlled the formation, its power would only be stronger than this. This was the reason why the cultivators of the Netherworld sect were still helpless when the Wang clan's cultivators were almost wiped out. This kind of formation was both offensive and defensive. If the enemy could not deal with the water dragons at the periphery, they would not be able to get close to the defensive light shield, let alone find the formation's weakness. The myriad water origin formation also had a defensive light shield. The 3 water dragons condensed by the 12th uncle were all integrated into the defensive light shield. Wang Daoyuan's 10 sword shadows were released at the same time, but they were still unable to break through the defensive light shield. Then he took out his 5 natal magic artifacts and condensed them into the 5 elements devil subduing seal. He pressed it on the defensive light shield and gradually increased the input of spirit energy. The 12th uncle also activated the formation with all his strength. The myriad water origin formation was not called for nothing. It could extract spirit energy from the clear glass river to increase its own strength. It was only when Wang Daoyuan used 70% of his strength that the defensive light shield became somewhat unstable. The 5 elements devil subduing seal could directly resist an ordinary late-stage golden core cultivator. 70% of its power could only make the light shield unstable. There was no doubt that the current myriad water origin formation could defend against most mid-stage golden core cultivators. This battle was comparable to a battle between mid-stage golden core cultivators. Naturally, there was no lack of curious onlookers. However, they did not dare to get too close. They all watched from a distance of 50 kilometers. However, the clansmen on the Jade Spring Peak could see very clearly. Wang Daoyuan no longer attacked. The 12th uncle also closed the formation and came out of the ancestral shrine. The 12th uncle's forehead was covered in sweat and his face was somewhat pale. The pressure of activating the myriad water origin formation with all his strength was still too great for him. Although his condition was not good, he was in a good mood. He laughed and said, "This can be considered as me experiencing the strength of a golden core cultivator in advance. In the future, our clan will not be afraid of a golden core cultivator's attack." The clansmen of the Jade Spring Peak were all overjoyed. The Jade Spring Peak was impregnable, which was good for everyone. The third brother was very envious. He was a fire attribute cultivator. Even when he controlled the myriad water origin formation, he could only condense a defensive light shield. He could not display any power at all. He could not even deal with an early-stage golden core cultivator, let alone display power comparable to a mid-stage golden core cultivator. Wang Daoyuan returned to the Jade Spring Peak and checked the formation's core and connecting lines. If there was a problem with the formation lines, it would be difficult to see under normal circumstances. However, after a great battle, the damaged areas would naturally show up. His efforts over the past year had not been in vain. After careful inspection, he did not find any obvious flaws in the formation lines. The few small flaws were also relatively easy to fix. After the repairs were completed, Wang Daoyuan personally controlled the formation and condensed 13 water dragons to attack at the same time. The power of this attack could easily kill a mid-stage golden core cultivator. Wang Daoyuan also heaved a sigh of relief when the myriad water origin formation no longer had any problems. Even if there was a great beast tide in the future, the Jade Spring Peak would not fall so easily with a golden core cultivator overseeing the clan. No matter how great the other losses were, the clan's foundation would not be shaken. Chapter 550. In the past few years that Wang Daoyuan had been studying array formations, his doppelganger hadn't been idle either. He had investigated the situation of the refined corpses and reported it to him. In the past few years, the refined corpses' lair at Treasure Mirror Lake still hadn't made any movements. The few refined corpses that had entered the sky/mountain range were also trapped in the Yin Energy Cave. There were already more than 10 rank 4 demonic beasts guarding outside the cave. The refined corpses had also tried to rush out a few times, but they were all blocked by the demonic beasts. The demonic beasts below rank 4 that had been chased away by the refined corpses previously ran around and disturbed the periphery of the sky/mountain range. Fallen Dragon Ridge was still somewhat affected. However, the demonic beasts they encountered were all rank 2 or 3. Fallen Dragon Ridge's array formation could block rank 2 demonic beasts. In order to block the rank 3 demonic beasts, Wang Daoyuan sent Yun Yi over. After this fellow advanced, its roar was even more intimidating. Ordinary rank 3 demonic beasts didn't dare to approach as long as they heard its roar. However, there were also a few daring rank 3 upper-grade demonic beasts that Yun Yi alone couldn't suppress. The 12th uncle also often ran over to Fallen Dragon Ridge to help. The array formation of the 2 easternmost mountains of Fallen Dragon Ridge had been broken several times, and hundreds of clansmen were killed or injured. In the past, when Fallen Dragon Ridge was attacked by demonic beasts, it wasn't uncommon to lose some clansmen. However, the situation in the past few years was a bit delicate. Wang Daoyuan put all his attention on studying array formations and didn't have time to care about the matters there, so he didn't take any forceful measures. In order to reduce the loss of clansmen, he moved all the ordinary clansmen there to the west. Of course, he couldn't completely give up the territory. After giving up the 2 easternmost mountains, the mountains in the middle became the first line and would still be attacked by demonic beasts. The 2 easternmost mountains were used as the front line to defend against demonic beasts. 2 foundation establishment cultivators and a few chi refinement cultivators were left to guard the array formation. Yun Yi was also there to guard. These 2 foundation establishment cultivators were also given rank 3 inferior grade golden lightning demonic annihilation talismans. If they encountered rank 3 demonic beasts that Yun Yi couldn't suppress, they would throw out the talismans. Even if they couldn't kill the demonic beasts, they would be scared out of their wits. They could stall for time and wait for reinforcements from Jade's Spring Peak. Passively defending wasn't a long-term solution. If there was an opportunity, they still had to counterattack. After the 10,000 water returning formation was set up, Wang Daoyuan ordered the Demon Execution Division of the Envoy Residence to move around Fallen Dragon Ridge. In the past, they were afraid of causing too much of a reaction from the demonic beasts, which would greatly affect the clan's businesses. Therefore, when the Demon Slayers Division killed rank 3 demonic beasts, they would try their best to move southeast of the 100 River Lake. Now, the attention of the rank 4 monsters in the sky/mountain range was attracted by the refined corpses in the north of the mountain. They didn't have time to care about the south of the mountain. Now that he could free up his hands, he could take down 1 or 2 4th-order low-grade demonic beasts. If the demonic beasts were allowed to wreak havoc, sooner or later, it would lead to a beast tide. Instead of waiting for them to attack their own territory, it was better to take the initiative and kill them. Wang Daoyuan did not stand on ceremony with those rank 3 demonic beasts. He directly sent out cultivators from the demon-slaying division and flying warships to clear out the rank 3 demonic beasts near Fallen Dragon Ridge. The clan now had a total of 8 flying warships. Among them, 1 3rd-order high-grade and 1 3rd-order middle-grade were made by Wang Daoyuan. The other 6 were refined by the clan members themselves. Zhao Liang and little uncle Wang Shouzhe were refining the flying warships at Clear Sky Peak. A few 2nd-order high-grade blacksmiths and array masters were assisting them, so their standards improved very quickly. They also nurtured 2 3rd-order low-grade blacksmiths and 1 3rd-order low-grade array master. Zhao Liang and Wang Shouzhe had also improved. Zhao Liang had already become a 3rd-order middle-grade blacksmith, and Wang Shouzhe was already a 3rd-order middle-grade array master. With 5 people directly involved in refining the flying warships, the speed naturally increased greatly. However, the Netherworld sect had set a limit. If there were more than 10 flying warships, half of them would have to be sold to the Netherworld sect. They would still be sold at cost price. Wang Daoyuan naturally wouldn't be so stupid. He had already thought of a countermeasure. After collecting 10 flying warships, he would continue to refine the entire set of parts of the flying warships. However, he wouldn't assemble them. As long as he didn't assemble them, there wouldn't be more than 10 flying warships. It wasn't difficult to assemble the flying warships. 2nd-order blacksmiths could do it. Now, the family didn't lack 2nd-order blacksmiths and array masters. If they really needed to use them, they could assemble one in a day or 2. On the Demon Slayers Division's side, there were more than 200 people now. They were all cultivators in the middle and late stage of foundation establishment. Together with the 8 flying warships, killing 3rd-order low-grade demonic beasts was simply like chopping melons and vegetables. In order to avoid causing a big commotion, Wang Daoyuan gave them spirit-restricting silk cloaks. Before they attacked, the demonic beasts were difficult to detect. After they attacked, they also entered and exited quickly. After killing the demonic beasts, they turned and ran. When the demonic beasts nearby calmed down, they attacked again. In just over a month's time, all the 3rd-order low-grade demonic beasts within 1,000 miles of Fallen Dragon Ridge were wiped out. In order to avoid exposing the 5 elements mystic realm, Wang Daoyuan didn't let them continue to the north. Instead, they turned south. After killing all the 3rd-order low-grade demonic beasts here, even if there was a beast tide in the future, the losses would be much smaller. The eastern end of Fallen Dragon Ridge was more than 1,500 miles away from the sky/mountain range. If some Foundation establishment cultivators caused trouble in this area, the 4th-order demonic beasts wouldn't care. Moreover, the current situation was chaotic enough. There were many demonic beasts roaming around, and there would be fights between them. The death of a few 3rd-order low-grade demonic beasts wouldn't attract attention. Wang Daoyuan stayed in Jade's Spring Peak for another half a year. The Demon Slayers Division was more daunting than dangerous, so he was relieved. These few years, he had been busy with array formations. It was also time to raise his cultivation. After greeting 3rd brother and 5th granduncle, he concealed himself and went to the Shanbei branch. When he arrived at Zhou Luan's cave abode, he found that she was working hard to cultivate the secret technique. Wang Daoyuan didn't disturb her. He took out the refining method of the sky-sealing sword prison talisman and lay on the recliner in the backyard to comprehend it. He prepared to use this as a foundation to deduce the sky-sealing sword prison dharma spell. Then, he would modify it and cooperate with the sword shadow divine light technique. Talismans and dharma spells originated from the same source, so it wasn't difficult to do this job. With his own comprehension, a few years would be enough. Not long after, Zhou Luan walked out of her room with a dejected expression and came to Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan asked, "My Lord Hall Master, what happened to you?" Zhou Luan replied dejectedly, "It's still a matter of using a small divine ability to condense spiritual fire. I've been cultivating for a few years, but I haven't made any progress." Wang Daoyuan hugged her and comforted her. "My master, Lei Yanjinren, is also very rare in terms of talent. He also used dozens of years to condense the purple thunder divine flame. It's only been a few years, so don't be too anxious. It just so happens that I'm here." With the spiritual fire as a reference, your speed should be much faster. The matter of condensing spiritual fire can't be rushed. Why don't we increase our cultivation first? Hearing his words, Zhou Luan's mood also improved a lot. Don't think too much. Release your fire attribute spiritual fire and let me comprehend it. Let's see how it works. Wang Daoyuan naturally didn't have any objections. He condensed a scarlet sun primordial flame in his hand. Zhou Luan's divine sense probed into the spiritual fire. After comprehending for a long time, she didn't gain anything. After all, the core of the spiritual fire was the fire seed. There was only a bit of spiritual fire essence in the scarlet sun primordial flame, so she couldn't comprehend anything. Wang Daoyuan could only take out the scarlet sun primordial flame from the space in the spirit pearl and let her comprehend it carefully. After staying here for more than 2 years, Zhou Luan had made a lot of progress in condensing spiritual fire. Although there was still a long way to go before she could truly condense spiritual fire, at least there was some progress. The two's cultivation had also improved a lot. They were not far away from the middle stage Aurus core. At this rate, they would be able to break through within a year. But at this time, the refined corpses in the Yellow Spring secret realm became restless again. A few refined corpses began to leave the secret realm and attacked the half-demons and demons in the south. In a short period of time, the Silver Fox and White Fox tribes in the southeast of the Mirror Treasure Lake suffered heavy losses. The bloodthirsty Ash Wolf Pack's Bloodfang Wolf King was also injured by the refined corpses. These fellows couldn't resist the refined corpses themselves, so they asked Wang Daoyuan for help. The demons and half-demons were already fighting fiercely. Now that the refined corpses were causing trouble everywhere, the entire northern mountain was in chaos. Chapter 551. Originally, he wanted to cultivate until the middle stage of the Jindan realm before waiting for his master to finish nurturing the magic tool that his master had refined. At that time, he would be able to kill a 4th stage high-grade refined corpse. However, he didn't expect that the refined corpse would take the initiative to attack, and it came from the south. If the refined corpses went in other directions, then they could do whatever they wanted. However, apart from a few half-demon tribes and a pack of bloodthirsty ash wolves in the south, there was nothing else that could stop the refined corpses. Wang Daoyuan didn't dare to ignore the demons and half-demons' cries for help. Once the bloodthirsty ash wolves and the Silver Fox tribe collapsed, the only thing left between Jade Spring Peak and the refined corpses was Mount Huiyan. Mount Huiyan, which was north of Jade Spring Peak, was already a remnant of the mountain range. There were no high-rank demonic beasts here, so it was completely useless for refining corpses. Refined corpses would be able to drive straight to the south of the mountain. At that time, he would have to deal with a group of refined corpses alone. The only thing he could do was to disrupt his plan and help him block the refined corpse. Wang Daoyuan and the two parties agreed to meet between the Blood Wolf Mountain and the Silver Fox tribe. Now, the Blood Wolf Mountain had 3 rank 4 monstrous beasts. Other than the half-dead Ashwolf King, there were also Blood Fang King and Fierce Tooth King. The Blood Wolf Mountain was originally the territory of the Ashwolf King. Later, it was forced by the half-demon and asked other wolves for help. Blood Fang King and Blazing Red King were here to help Ash Wolf King look after the place. Their tribe had also migrated to the vicinity of Blood Wolf Mountain. There were 2 golden core half-demons on the half-demons side. Aside from the Silver Fox tribe's fox spirit, there was also the tribe leader of the Dark Fox tribe, Ming Exen. The Underworld Fox tribe was originally very far from Mount Blood Wolf, but due to the conflicts between the demons and half-demons, there were many demons in the original location of the Underworld Fox tribe. Ming Exen was afraid that his tribe would be attacked, so he ran to the vicinity of the Silver Fox tribe. It just so happened that the Silver Fox tribe was alone. Naturally, they welcomed the Dark Fox tribe. The Ash Wolf King was half dead, and the bloodthirsty Ash Wolves could only send out 2 Wolf Kings. Both sides were evenly matched. Both the Wolf King and the 2 half-demons weren't very strong. With Wang Daoyuan's strength, even if someone attacked him, he was confident that he could escape unscathed. After saying goodbye to Zhou Luan, he went straight to the meeting place. This was a meeting, so Wang Daoyuan did not hide his figure. After leaving returning Wild Goose City Square, he swaggered and flew on a cloud. Soon, they arrived at the meeting place. In order to show their sincerity, the Devil Race and Half-Devil Race were negotiating on a small hill without a spirit vein. It was not easy to set up a permanent formation in such a place. This was also to reassure Wang Daoyuan. On a small piece of flat land halfway up the mountain, there were 5 praying mats. 4 of them were already occupied. Wang Daoyuan rode a cloud and landed halfway up the mountain. He cupped his hands and said, "Greetings to the 4 Daoyu." The 4 of them returned his salute. Wang Daoyuan sized them up. He had met Hu Ling and Blood Fang Monarch at Wild Goose Gathering Tower. The fox spirit was still the same. Blood Fang King's face was pale and he looked like he was about to collapse. Roaring Tooth Monarch and Blood Tooth Monarch looked similar, but this Ming Exen was a standard fox spirit. Ming Exen was a rather thrifty half-fiend. She wore a tight black leather jacket that accentuated her curvaceous figure. Her face was like a peach blossom and her eyes were like autumn waves. As soon as Wang Daoyuan landed, she threw flirtatious glances at him. She was most likely cultivating the Tao of charm. Wang Daoyuan did not look at her for long and looked away. If he fell for it and brought a half-fiend back, with Zhou Luan's personality, she would turn Jade's spring peak upside down. With the Heart Sutra of Cloud and Rain, one Zhou Luan would not be a problem. However, if there was another half-fiend cultivating the Tao of Charm, even if he could take it, his waist would not be able to hold it. Hu Ling spoke first. "Dao, the 4 of us are powerless to stop the refined corpses invading the south. We can only ask for your help." Wang Daoyuan asked, "The half-fiends of the fox race are also a big race in the northern mountains. Needless to say, the bloodthirsty ash wolves. Why don't you ask for help from your own race instead of a human cultivator?" Hu Ling sighed. "The half-fiends of the fox race mainly cultivate the art of charm and illusion, which is ineffective against refined corpses. The innate art of the bloodthirsty ash wolves is related to sucking blood, but refined corpses don't have blood. To deal with refined corpses, we can only rely on our own spiritual energy to resist them. The lethality of our spells is extremely low. Last time, 4 refined corpses came. 2 of them were mid-grade and 2 of them were low-grade. The 4 of us did not have the ability to severely injure them, but their attacks could easily injure us. Blood Fang King Daoyu was injured by a refined corpse. If we did not have many tricks up our sleeves, I'm afraid we would have died in their hands last time. The juniors in the tribe are weak and did not even have time to escape. We suffered heavy losses. If Daoyu does not help us, we can only give up our territory and leave." Wang Daoyuan naturally could not ignore it. "The refined corpses are our common enemy, so I naturally will not leave them alone. It's just that I don't know much about refined corpses, so I don't have much confidence in killing them. If the refined corpses come again, I can try to kill a low-grade 4th-grade refined corpse. The other refined corpses will be held back by the 4 of you." Hearing this, the 4 of them were overjoyed. Ming Exen hurriedly winked and said coquettishly, "I knew Big Brother Wang would not leave us in the lurch." On the side, Roaring Tooth King could not stand it anymore. "Enough, Ming Exen, as far as I know, Daoyu is only a little over 200 years old. He is considered extremely young among human golden core cultivators. You are 1,000-year-old who can be his ancestor for dozens of generations, yet you still have the nerve to call him Big Brother. Aren't you afraid of disgusting Daoyu? Ming Xen was about to retort, but Hu Ling immediately stopped her. This was to prevent the two of them from quarreling and affecting their upcoming joint battle. He hurriedly changed the topic. Ming Xen is a mid-grade golden core cultivator, and Roaring Tooth King is also a mid-grade 4th-grade refined corpse. The two of them should have no problem holding back 2 mid-grade 4th-grade refined corpses. Blood Tooth King and I are slightly lower in cultivation, but we can hold back 1 low-grade 4th-grade refined corpse each to create an opportunity for Daoyu. Roaring Tooth King ignored Ming Xen and asked Wang Daoyuan instead. I heard that Daoyu has the life spiritual fire that can heal injuries. I wonder if it can heal Blood Tooth King's injuries. He was injured by the refined corpses, and his wounds have corpse and death chi that corrode his body. It is difficult for him to use his full strength. Wang Daoyuan was unhappy. It was most likely that the underworld sect had tricked him and revealed his life spiritual fire to the demon race. They did not dare to attack him, so they wanted to kill him with a borrowed knife. The human forces were afraid of Lei Yanzhenren, but the demon race was not. Lei Yanzhenren would not dare to act rashly if the demon race killed Wang Daoyuan and hid in the sky/mountain range. After all, there were demon kings comparable to half-step Yuanying in the sky/mountain range. Since the other party had already said it, if Wang Daoyuan refused, it would seem too insincere. He nodded and said, in front of a great enemy, we naturally have to face a common enemy. Helping Bloodtooth King heal his injuries is reasonable. Bloodtooth King lifted his robe and revealed his left arm. There were 5 claw marks on the side of his forearm. The wounds had turned black and emitted a thick corpse stench. However, Bloodtooth King was a 4th-grade demon beast, and his spirit energy was not weak. Corpse and death chi could not take his life, but it would take a long time for him to recover. Wang Daoyuan drew out a wisp of life spiritual fire from his fingertip and placed it on Bloodtooth King's wound. Sizzling sounds of corrosion could be heard, and the corpse stench became thicker. The life spiritual fire's vitality and death chi countered each other, but Wang Daoyuan did not expect it to have a restraining effect on corpse chi as well. Corpse chi and death chi were not the same thing, but they were of the same origin. They were both derived from yin chi and were similar in nature. Refined corpses had yin chi and death chi coexisting, while ghosts only had death chi. The effect would be stronger if he used the Scarlet Yang True Fire, but Wang Daoyuan did not dare to take it out. After half a cup of tea's time, the death chi was completely exhausted, and the corpse chi was also depleted by 70 to 80%. Bloodtooth King also began to use his own blood energy to cleanse the remaining corpse chi. 15 minutes later, Bloodtooth King's injuries were completely healed. Both Bloodtooth King and Roaring Tooth King cupped their hands in thanks. Bloodtooth King said, "Thank you, Dao, for your help. Otherwise, I don't know how long this injury would have lasted. This time, I owe Dao you a favor. If you need my help in the future, just ask." Chapter 552. Most of the demon race's fellows were honest men. Everything was laid out on the table. He said that he owed Wang Daoyuan a favor, so if Wang Daoyuan asked him for help in the future, he would definitely not decline. Although humans and demons could not coexist, they were opponents worthy of respect. Unlike those cowardly rats from the underworld sect, they did not dare to do so openly and did not have the guts to scheme against others. They did not have the arrogance of demons. After reaching an agreement, they would return to their own territories. Ming Xen continued to tease, "Brother Daoyuan, I didn't expect you to be so young. You formed your golden core at 200 years old, you must be focused on cultivation. I'm afraid you don't even know about the matters between men and women. Why don't you come to my underworld fox tribe? Sister will teach you." Wang Daoyuan was disdainful. Is there anyone who does not know how to do this? Furthermore, what have I not seen in my previous life? In this life, it's hard to say who will teach who. However, he still had a pure look on his face and smiled, No need, the enemy is right in front of us. Ming Exen, Dao, you should prepare more countermeasures. Fierce Tooth King mocked. Old witch, Dao, he doesn't like you, don't embarrass yourself. Seeing that the two were about to fight again, Hu Ling and Bloodtooth King quickly stopped them and finally stopped. After they left, Wang Daoyuan could not help but shake his head. What is wrong with these fox half-demons? The White Fox tribe always wanted him to marry into their family, and then they asked him to be the matchmaker. This underworld fox, on the other hand, wanted to teach him about the matters between men and women. The refined corpse could come here at any time, so he did not return to Wild Goose Market. Wild Goose Market was more than 10,000 miles away. Once the refined corpse attacked, by the time he came to help, most of the demons and half-demons here would have been dead. This small hill was not bad, not far from the half-demon tribe. He could help at any time. This place was unfamiliar, and there was no formation protection. Wang Daoyuan did not dare to cultivate here, so he studied the heaven-sealing sword prison. In these 2 years, other than cultivating hard, he also restored the heaven-sealing sword prison. When this spell was cast personally, its power was naturally much stronger than the sword talisman. However, it was still difficult to modify it to work with the sword shadow divine light technique. After all, the predecessor of the sword shadow divine light technique was a spell created by an ancient great power. To directly modify it was not something that Wang Daoyuan, a golden core cultivator, could do. Even modifying the sky-sealing sword prison so that it could be used with the sword shadow divine light technique was an extremely difficult task. Now, the only thing he could do was to sneak 10 sword shadows into the sword prison and launch a sneak attack on his opponent when he used the sealing heaven sword prison. It was impossible to use the sword shadows to increase the strength and power of the sword prison. After staying in the small hill for 3 days, Hu Ling and Ming Exen sent him a message asking for help. A small tribe north of the Silver Fox tribe was attacked by refined corpses. Hu Ling and Ming Exen had rushed over and informed the 2 wolf kings of the bloodthirsty ash wolf. At this critical moment, Wang Daoyuan did not dare to delay. He immediately rode a cloud and rushed to the small tribe that had been attacked. This small tribe was not far from here. In less than half a cup of tea's time, he had rushed over. Looking from the sky, there were indeed 4 refined corpses. There were 2 low-grade and 2 mid-grade tier 4 corpses. 2 of the 4 refined corpses were entangled with Hu Ling and Ming Exen, while the other 2 were attacking the small tribe's defensive formation. Wang Daoyuan did not say anything. He took out the white tiger blade and attacked the low-grade tier 4 refined corpse that was entangled with Hu Ling. This refined corpse was also in human form. The other low-grade tier 4 refined corpse was a black bear. Human-shaped refined corpses were weaker and easier to deal with. When the refined corpse saw Wang Daoyuan attacking, it actually broke free from Hu Ling and fled downwards. Although tier 4 refined corpses regained some intelligence, their intelligence was usually very low, similar to that of ordinary wild beasts. This fellow actually ran away decisively after encountering 2 opponents of the same level. Wang Daoyuan's sneak attack failed, so he went to help Ming Exen deal with the mid-grade tier 4 refined corpse. This fellow was a vulture with a wingspan of more than 30 meters. It was born to be able to fly. Even at tier 4, its agility and speed in the air still surpassed that of ordinary demonic beasts. However, this vulture had already become a refined corpse. Its agility was much lower, but it was still not easy to deal with. Seeing Wang Daoyuan chasing after it, it did not continue fighting. It retracted its wings and quickly dove downwards. At this moment, Blood Fang King and Roaring Tooth King also rushed over. Wang Daoyuan transmitted his voice to them. The low-grade tier 4 refined corpse is the easiest to kill. Each of you hold one back. I'll wait for an opportunity to finish it off. The 4 of them were all experienced in battle and did not need to discuss how to fight. Ming Exen's methods were mainly charm and illusions. They did not have much destructive power against refined corpses, so they did not expect her to have any results. But after all, she was a mid-stage golden core cultivator. Holding back a mid-grade tier 4 refined corpse was not a problem. She would hold back the most troublesome vulture. The other human-shaped mid-grade Tier 4 refined corpse was naturally given to Roaring Tooth King. Although spells could not restrain it, the bloodthirsty ash wolf's physical strength was extremely strong. It would not be a problem for it to suppress the human-shaped mid-grade Tier 4 refined corpse. As for the remaining low-grade Tier 4 refined corpse, it was the other way around. Fox Spirit would hold back the bear while Blood Fang King used his physical strength to suppress the human-shaped refined corpse, creating an opportunity for Wang Daoyuan. Tier 4 refined corpses were not as agile as half-fiends and fiends. They could not choose their opponents. As soon as the fight began, Blood Fang King revealed his bloodthirsty ash wolf's true form. He turned into a 3-meter-long green-black demon wolf with fangs half a foot long in his mouth. It would not be a problem for him to suppress the human-shaped refined corpse. Moreover, his size would not affect his agility. Soon, Blood Fang King threw the human-shaped refined corpse to the ground and pressed its 2 front paws on the corpse's arms. Suppressing his disgust, he bit down on the corpse's head. Tier 4 refined corpses were strong, but they were still in human form. Compared to the bloodthirsty ash wolf, their physical strength was still a bit lacking. Tier 4 refined corpses were not only strong physically, but could also use simple spells. It spat out a cloud of black smoke to attack Blood Fang King. At the same time, Blood Fang King unleashed all of his chi and blood. His blood-red chi and blood surged out, forming a light shield that blocked the corrosive black smoke. Wang Daoyuan would not let go of this opportunity. He took out the vermilion bird fan and condensed a ball of green flame in his hand. He threw it at Blood Fang King. Then, he activated the vermilion bird fan to increase the power of the flame. He did not use the flame to attack. Instead, he let the flame release its vitality. Blood Fang King was surrounded by the flame and was not hurt at all. Instead, he felt refreshed. However, the refined corpse that was being suppressed was extremely unhappy. The vitality released by the fire of life was constantly dissolving the corpse and death chi. The refined corpse's physical strength was supported by these 2 things. Once it was used up, the body would be useless. Once the body was not strong enough, it would be torn to shreds by Blood Fang King. Of course, it would not sit and wait for death. It spat out a large cloud of black smoke to resist the vitality. At the same time, it struggled violently, trying to shake off Blood Fang King. However, Blood Fang Monarch wasn't someone to be trifled with. His body emitted a violent spiritual energy fluctuation. Spiritual fluctuations surged out from its body and pressed the refined corpse down half a foot. This spell seemed to be able to increase the body's weight instantly. It was very effective when used after pressing down the opponent. Refined corpses were still lacking in skills. They mainly relied on close combat and the corpse and death chi to corrode the opponent. Now that its physical strength was suppressed by Blood Fang King and its corpse and death chi were destroyed by the fire of life, it could not resist at all. It could only scream and ask for help from the other refined corpses. Vulture was the most agile and wanted to help. Wang Daoyuan used the heaven-burning divine flame technique to form a jade-green by Fang divine bird, which flew toward the vulture. Refined corpses hated vitality the most and did not dare to fight it head-on. With the help of the Bai Fang shadow, Ming Exen finally stalled Vulture and prevented it from interfering with Blood Fang King. After 15 minutes, the refined corpse that was suppressed by Blood Fang King finally couldn't hold on any longer. Its corpse and death chi were greatly consumed. Its body was not as strong as before. Its head was crushed by Blood Fang King and its hands were torn off by the wolf claws. Blood Fang King followed up and tore the refined corpse into pieces. Then it shouted, "Daoyu Wang, use the fire of life to rinse my mouth. This refined corpse stinks." Chapter 553. Wang Daoyuan gave a ball of spiritual fire of life to Blood Fang King, then attacked the low-grade rank 4 black bear corpse. However, the fox spirit strength was far inferior to Blood Fang King's, so it couldn't suppress the black bear at all. Wang Daoyuan's spiritual fire of life would have a hard time burning the black bear. On the other side, Blood Fang King finished rinsing his mouth with spiritual fire of life and joined Wang Daoyuan in attacking the black bear. However, The black bear's body was much stronger than Blood Fang King's. Wang Daoyuan's attacks left many wounds on its body, but the black bear corpse was 50 to 60 feet long and didn't care about the slightest injury. It would be a waste of time to continue fighting like this. Roaring Fang King was still fine as he had the upper hand against the mid-grade rank 4 humanoid corpse. Ming Xian wasn't as strong. Even with the help of Wang Daoyuan's Bai Fang, she wasn't Vulture's match. Her tight leather clothes were torn in many places, revealing a large part of her body. The three of them couldn't completely suppress the black bear, which made Wang Daoyuan a little frustrated. If he used the Crimson Yang primordial fire or released the Redwing Crow, the black bear would be killed instantly. Anyway, he didn't want to reveal too much of his strength. He took out his 5 natal Dharma artifacts and merged them into the 5-element seal. Everyone already knew that he had refined the 5 elements devil suppression seal, so there was no point in hiding it. The 5 elements seal had the strength of a late-stage golden core cultivator. It was enough to kill the black bear instantly. Vulture and the humanoid corpse both looked at the black bear. Vulture flapped his wings and knocked Ming Xian aside. After dodging the Bai Fang's attack, he pounced at Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan thought to himself, it would be strange if no one was controlling this humanoid corpse. It even learned how to attack Wei to save Zhao. Wang Daoyuan took out the heaven-sealing sword prison talisman, and 108 sword shadows surrounded Vulture. Streaks of sword chi slashed at Vulture's body, but only left some shallow wounds and a few feathers. Vulture relied on his strong body to break through the heaven-sealing sword prison. Then, it flapped its wings fiercely and flew high into the sky to hide. Wang Daoyuan did not continue attacking it. His target was Roaring Tooth King's opponent. The black bear was not strong, but it was big and had a lot of corpse and death aura. It would take a lot of time to get rid of it. Wouldn't it be better to use this time to get rid of that 4th-tier mid-grade humanoid corpse? Now that they had the upper hand, the black bear would definitely not be able to escape. They would just have to stay and kill it. He shouted, "Ardent Tooth King!" Roaring Tooth Lord immediately understood, and a blood-red barrier appeared around his body. He forcefully endured the attack of the rank 4 humanoid corpse and pushed it to the ground. Wang Daoyuan immediately activated the 5 elements devil suppression seal and smashed it in that direction. The devil vanquishing seal reached a height of more than 10 meters above the wolf and the corpse. It released a suppressive force to suppress the refined corpse. Roaring Tooth King immediately flashed away, and the evil vanquishing seal landed heavily. The refined corpse wanted to dodge, but under the suppression, its movements were slowed down. Without waiting for it to get up, the devil vanquishing seal smashed down heavily. With a few cracking sounds, a hole appeared on the refined corpse's chest. The devil vanquishing seal smashed into its chest, breaking its sternum and ribs. Such a heavy injury was fatal to both humans and demonic beasts. But to the refined corpse, it only affected its strength slightly. With the 5 elements devil suppression seal pressing down on the refined corpse, it could not get up. Wang Daoyuan used his spiritual fire of life to burn the refined corpse. The vulture in the sky saw that the refined corpse had no strength to resist, and did not attack again. Instead, it flew directly in the direction of the Yellow Springs secret realm. Although the vulture's refined corpse was not as agile as other demonic beasts, its speed was not inferior at all. Wang Daoyuan and the others could not catch up to it, so they simply let it go. The wounded Ming Xian also heaved a sigh of relief. Seeing that his opponent was completely suppressed, Roaring Tooth King no longer cared about it and turned to deal with the black bear. Wang Daoyuan recalled the Bai Fang and controlled his spiritual fire of life to deal with the rank 4 intermediate corpse. Because the refined corpse's body had already been destroyed, his spiritual fire of life could directly burn it. In just half a cup of tea's time, the corpse chi and death chi were exhausted. The refined corpse's body was not much stronger than a golden core cultivator's. Wang Daoyuan formed a sword with his right hand and gently waved it a few times. Several sword rays flew out, cutting off the refined corpse's 4 limbs and head. In the past few years, he had taken the time to comprehend the Tai sword diagram and had made some progress in becoming one with the sword. He could now use some sword cultivation spells with his bare hands. On the other side, The four people surrounded the black bear. No matter how strong its body was, it could not hold on. Soon, the black bear was cut into 8 pieces. Blood Fong King took out a black pearl about 3 inches in diameter from the black bear's head. This pearl emitted a strong corpse and death qi. Wang Daoyuan also recognized this item. It was called the corpse pill, which was the golden core used to refine corpses. If a refined corpse was fed with the corpse pill, it could help the refined corpse evolve. Cultivators who practiced evil Dao techniques could also directly absorb the corpse qi and death qi to improve their own cultivation. Most of them used the corpse pill to refine evil artifacts. Some evil cultivators even used it to refine their natal artifacts. Then, Blood Fong King took out 2 more corpse pills from the heads of the other 2 refined corpses. Unfortunately, these 2 refined corpses had been burned by Wang Daoyuan's spiritual fire of life for a long time, so there was not much corpse and death qi left in their corpse pills. Blood Fong King gave the 3 corpse pills to Wang Daoyuan. Dao, thanks to your help, we were able to kill these 3 refined corpses. Otherwise, we would have died at the hands of the refined corpses, and even our race would have been wiped out. We don't have anything good in our hands, so these 3 corpse pills all belong to Daoyu. Take it as a token of our appreciation. Wang Daoyuan hurriedly declined. The 4 Daoyu are all injured and have paid a greater price than me. If I accept the corpse pills, I will feel bad. Hu Ling continued, fellow Daoist Wang, you should just accept it. You've saved the lives of our entire clan. This is nothing. Roaring Tooth King and Ming Xian also tried to persuade him. Wang Daoyuan did not decline and accepted the 3 corpse pills. Then he used the spiritual fire of life to heal the 4. Blood Fong King and Fox Spirit were only lightly injured and healed after being burned by the spiritual fire of life for a while. Roaring Tooth King was the last one to fall to the mid-grade rank 4 refined corpse. The refined corpse clawed a hole in his abdomen, injuring him the most. Wang Daoyuan took out the Azure Dragon Pearl and healed Roaring Tooth King first. After half a cup of tea's time, the corpse and death qi in Roaring Tooth King's body were removed and his wounds healed. Ming Xian's injuries were all superficial, but there were many deep wounds. Her injuries were not light, but she did not need the Azure Dragon Pearl. Wang Daoyuan used the spiritual fire of life to envelop her and slowly release his life force to dissolve the corpse and death qi in her wounds. Not long after, her wounds were healed. Wang Daoyuan withdrew the fire of life. Ming Xian stood up, took 2 steps forward and fell into Wang Daoyuan's arms. Looking at the disheveled beauty, Wang Daoyuan subconsciously supported her. Ming Xian burrowed into his arms and said, little brother Daoyuan, big sister suffered heavy internal injuries and won't be able to recover in 8 to 10 years. Why don't you come to my dark fox tribe and heal me? Wang Daoyuan had a helpless expression. Why was this fox half demon like her? She wanted to pull everyone into her tribe. She really wanted to improve the breed. He quickly pushed Ming Xian away and said with a smile, Ming Xian, Daoyu's breathing is stable and his injuries have healed. Now, he won't have a problem fighting with cultivators of the same level. If there are other injuries, please forgive me for not being able to help. Roaring Tooth King laughed at the side and said, Old witch, your charm is not enough. You took the initiative to throw yourself into his arms and Daoyu didn't even like you. Ming Xian changed her soft voice and cursed at Roaring Tooth King at the top of her voice. Wang Daoyuan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He advised, we've only killed 3 refined corpses and there are still many of them at the Mirror Treasure Lake. You two should not be careless. In my opinion, you two should stop fighting for the time being and fight against the refined corpses together. Both of them felt that it was reasonable and stopped arguing. They only snorted at each other and stopped arguing. Chapter 554. Over at the Sky Beheading Mountain Range, the 4 refined corpses had been stuck in the Inchi Cave for several years, and the Mirror Treasure Lake had not sent any refined corpses to rescue them. Now that the refined corpses had suffered a setback here and suffered heavy losses, it was unlikely that they would continue to travel south. Wang Daoyuan bid farewell to everyone and prepared to return to Guiyan Market. Ming Xen looked very reluctant and said, "Brother Daoyuan, you should stay in my tribe for a few days, so that I can be a good host." Wang Daoyuan naturally could not agree. Zhou Luan's spies were not good at proper business, but they were definitely good at finding out which woman he had been in contact with. When he was in the capital of Zhou country, he was talking to the Wind Snow God Palace about the face-retaining pill business, and was scolded by Zhou Luan. In this small tribe, there was an 80% chance that Zhou Luan's spies were in it. This time, when he was helping Ming Xian heal her injuries, he was hugged by her again. He did not know what would happen when he returned. If he stayed in the Dark Fox tribe for a few more days, Guiyan Market and Jade's Spring Peak would probably be turned upside down. He declined, "The administrator's residence is busy, and I have no time to deal with it these few days, so I won't stay for long. Everyone, Dao Yu, farewell." In order to avoid Ming Xian's continued pestering, he left on a cloud and headed for Guiyan Market. In the Yellow Spring secret realm, a black-robed old man sat cross-legged under the Yellow Spring willow. This old man's skin was dry and black, and his movements were extremely uncoordinated. His body emitted black gas, but there was no trace of vitality. He was clearly not a living person. He spoke in a stiff and hoarse voice. "I didn't expect that a little bug that came here more than 100 years ago would grow to this extent. Unfortunately, my physical body was still being nurtured in the Yellow Spring. My soul had not fully developed into a ghost body. Once I left the Yellow Spring willow, all my previous efforts would be wasted, and I could not kill him. I didn't expect that in a short 100 years, he would grow into such a big problem." His natal magic tool seems to have the aura of the Yellow Spring bead. More than 200 years ago, the Yellow Spring bead and my inheritance were stolen by two little bugs. Now that the Yellow Spring bead is in his hands, my inheritance should also be in his hands. With this kid here, we can't go south for the time being. Wang Daoyuan naturally did not know about these things. After he returned to Guiyan City Square, he first went to the Guardian residence to check on the business situation of Guiyan City Square. After all, he had already made a public appearance. It would be unreasonable if he did not pay the Guardian residence a visit after coming to returning Wild Goose City Square. After that, he concealed himself and went to the underground branch. After entering Zhou Luan's Immortal's cave, he had just closed the door of the Immortal's cave when a ball of flame came towards him. Wang Daoyuan immediately used the water dragon technique. A water dragon flew out and swallowed the flames. Then, another ball of flame flew over. He used the water dragon prison to trap the fireball. Zhou Luan's spiritual consciousness couldn't penetrate the water dragon prison. The fireball inside went out of control and soon dissipated. A fiery red figure rushed over. This was naturally Zhou Luan. Wang Daoyuan was afraid of hurting her, so he withdrew the water dragon and condensed it into a water dragon armor. Zhou Luan stopped in front of him and pointed the sword in her hand at him. Then she asked in a strange tone, "Administrator, why didn't you stay in the Dark Fox tribe as a son-in-law? Otherwise, you could have married that vixen Ming Xian and brought her back to Jade Spring Peak. You could have gained a Dark Fox tribe for free. That's more than a dozen Violet Palace realm cultivators and more than 100 Foundation Establishment realm cultivators." Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, "Hall Master, you must be joking. You are my official wife. Even 100 Dark Fox tribes can't compare to you." Zhou Luan's anger subsided a little. She asked, "So you want to take in a concubine?" Wang Daoyuan hurriedly denied, "I definitely don't have that intention. Other women are mediocre compared to Hall Master. You also know what kind of character the half-demons of the Fox tribe have. When they see a capable human cultivator, they want to recruit him into their tribe. She took the initiative to throw herself at me. As a dignified gentleman, I naturally rejected her." Zhou Luan's expression returned to normal. "When that vixen pretended to fall, you were quite nimble in holding her. How does it feel to hold that vixen?" Wang Daoyuan subconsciously replied, "Not bad." Then he immediately corrected himself, "It's not as comfortable as Hall Master's." Zhou Luan pointed the sword in her hand at Wang Daoyuan's waist and threatened, "You dare to compare that vixen to me? You have guts. Flies don't bite seamless eggs. You're a scoundrel who attracts flies." Next time, if you dare to be ambiguous with other people, you'll have to bear the consequences. Wang Daoyuan finally let out a sigh of relief. This matter was finally over. He put away the water dragon. "Hull Master, rest assured. I'm definitely not that kind of person. Don't mention those misunderstandings. Our cultivation is more important. Don't you still want to condense spiritual fire? That's the important thing." Then he took out the flame of the red sun primordial fire from the space of the spiritual pearl and handed it to Zhou Luan. Zhou Luan put away her sword and took the red sun primordial fire. "Reflect on yourself in the front yard for a few days. Without my orders, you're not allowed to enter the backyard." Wang Daoyuan didn't dare to provoke her anymore. He obediently stayed in the front yard and thought about improving the sky ceiling sword prison. In the next few days, the news that Wang Daoyuan cooperated with the demons and half-demons to kill 3 refined corpses and that the spiritual fire of life could restrain the refined corpses spread in the northern mountains. Many demon and half-demon tribes sent envoys to visit Wang Daoyuan in Beiyuan market. The news that refined corpses appeared near the Mirror Treasure Lake Oasis had spread throughout the northern mountains. A group of refined corpses entered the Sky Chop Mountain range and killed 3 rank 4 demon beasts. More than 10 rank 4 demon beasts were helpless against them. The refined corpses ran everywhere. The demons and half-demons near the Mirror Treasure Lake Oasis were also afraid of being attacked by the refined corpses. It was better to familiarize themselves with Wang Daoyuan first so that when they were attacked by the refined corpses in the future, it would be easier for them to ask him for help. Wang Daoyuan helped the Silver Fox tribe and the bloodthirsty ash wolves because they were the last barrier of Yannan County. Once they were all killed or escaped, Yannan County would have to face the refined corpses. Wang Daoyuan's subordinate forces were closely related to the Silver Fox, the other half-demon tribes, and the bloodthirsty ash wolves. Protecting them was the same as indirectly protecting his own territory. As for the other demons and half-demons, what did their lives have to do with him? The more the demons and half-demons in the northern mountains lost, the better. If the northern mountains were really empty, he could expand his forces there. Although the northern mountains were not as big as the Sky Chop Mountain range, there were still many rank 3 and rank 4 spirit veins. When the demon and half-demon envoys arrived at the garrison of the Beiyuan market, Lu Yuan asked Wang Daoyuan about the arrangements. Wang Daoyuan asked him to chat with these envoys. He could accept their gifts, but he had to give them Dharma artifacts, pills, and other spiritual items in return. They could talk about feelings, but they could not make any promises. He did not make any promises or owe anyone favors. When the demons and half-demons came to ask him for help, he would not have a bad reputation if he rejected them. Lu Yuan was also an itinerant cultivator who had been in the northern mountains for 200 to 300 years. He could not be a fool to have survived until now. There were no problems in handling the affairs of the Beiyuan market in the past few years. It was naturally easy to fool the demons and half-demon envoys. There was no movement in the netherworld mystic realm. The demon beasts outside the Sky Chop Mountain range in the east of Yannan County also did not move. There was nothing for Wang Daoyuan to handle personally, so he was happy to be free. It was good to cultivate in the underground branch. There was no need to go elsewhere to find work. After staying in the front yard for half a month, Zhou Luan's anger finally subsided. Wang Daoyuan successfully entered the boudoir. A year later, Wang Daoyuan sat cross-legged on the carved bed. The spiritual power fluctuations on his body were getting stronger and stronger. This was a sign that he was about to break through the realm. Zhou Luan did not dare to disturb him and guarded outside the door. The rank 3 low-grade spirit veins in the Beiyuan market were naturally not enough for an early-stage golden core cultivator to break through. Before the breakthrough, Wang Daoyuan drank a few jars of 100-year spiritual peach dew and a lot of rank 4 cloud hidden tea. At this time, he was still constantly extracting spirit energy from the space of the spiritual pearl. More than 10 days later, his body emitted 5 colors of green, yellow, red gold, black, and white. The light lasted for a quarter of an hour, and then the light faded. Wang Daoyuan's spiritual power fluctuations were obviously strengthened, and his cultivation broke through to the mid-stage golden core. Chapter 555. After breaking through, Wang Daoyuan did not immediately get up. Instead, he took out a jar of 100-year spiritual peach dew and drank it all. He continued to meditate and consolidate his cultivation. After half a day, the spiritual power of the jar of wine was completely exhausted and his cultivation was stabilized. Zhou Luan walked in and asked, "You formed your core later than me. When we dual cultivated, our cultivation progress was similar. I'm still some distance away from the middle stage of the Oris core stage. How did you break through? When you weren't here, did you dual cultivate with other female cultivators?" Wang Daoyuan said helplessly, "Hall Master, you're really imagining things. When I wasn't here, I always stayed at the Jade Spring Peak. The Jade Spring Peak spiritual vein is a low-grade 4th-tier spiritual vein. Moreover, it's very close to middle-grade 4th-tier spiritual vein. It's much stronger than the spiritual vein in Guiyan Market. Besides, you usually have to comprehend and condense flexible secret techniques, so you have to put your mind elsewhere. My cultivation speed is slightly faster than yours. Isn't that normal?" In fact, the main reason why his cultivation speed was faster was because of the spiritual energy in the space of the spiritual pearl. There were 5 middle-grade 4th-tier spiritual veins in the space of the spiritual pearl. There was also the void outside the space as a backing, so the spiritual energy was endless. Now that he broke through, the space of the spiritual pearl did not change much. It was just that after the red-feathered crow's tribulation, the growth speed of the spiritual veins, the expansion speed of the spiritual fields, and the growth speed of time had increased. There were now 45 mu of spiritual fields, and the flow of time had increased to 41 times. The purple-gold jade marrow fruit that he planted had also sprouted. For most of these 2 years, the scarlet young real fire's seed fire was in Zhou Luan's hands. The space of the spiritual pearl was not affected much. After all, there was still the red-feathered crow. Its natal fire was even more powerful than the scarlet young real fire's seed fire. Even if it leaked a little of its power, it was enough to maintain the balance of the 5 elements. When Zhou Luan heard this, she felt that it was somewhat reasonable, so she did not continue to ask. Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, "Hall Master, since you think the cultivation speed is slow, then I'll help you cultivate?" Zhou Luan did not have any intention to object. Wang Daoyuan carried her and put her on the bed. Just as he was about to take off his clothes, a communication jade talisman in his storage bag began to vibrate. He took out the jade talisman and read it. It was a message from his 5th granduncle. Zhong Zhenyang, the supreme elder of the Netherworld sect, had come to visit him in person. He said that he had an urgent matter to discuss with him. Now, Zhong Zhenyang was waiting at the administrator's mansion in Qingli City. Wang Daoyuan was so angry that he almost smashed the jade talisman. Wasn't this ruining his plans? Seeing his exasperated look, Zhou Luan asked, "What happened? Why are you so angry?" Wang Daoyuan replied, "Zhong Zhenyang of the underworld sect is looking for me. He really ruined my plans." Zhou Luan said with a smile, "A good man's ambition is to travel far and wide. How can he ruin the important matter because of personal feelings? Since he had something important to do, he should hurry over. In the past, Gu Wangzong would look for you if something happened to the Netherworld sect. This time, Zhong Zhenyang had come in person. It should be something important. Take this scarlet yang true flame with you. You might have to fight with others. Without a spirit flame, your strength will be reduced." Wang Daoyuan originally wanted to refuse, but it was not easy to explain. He could only accept the scarlet yang true flame. After tidying up his clothes, he said with a smile, "Hall Master, please wait for a while. After I settle the matter over there, I will come over to help you cultivate." After that, he left the underground branch and headed for Qingli City. When he arrived at the administrator's mansion in Qingli City, his 5th granduncle was receiving Zhong Zhenyang in the meeting hall. Wang Daoyuan entered the meeting hall and cupped his hands. "I wonder why the Supreme First Elder came in person?" Zhong Zhenyang smiled and said, "This old man came here for 2 matters, one big and one small, one public and one private. Let's put public matters first. This public matter is also a big matter. Ever since Venerable Lei Yen said that the Divine Weapon Pavilion would not do business with the Song clan, the Song Nation had been in a lot of activity. Within the Song Nation, the Divine Weapon Pavilion only targeted the Song clan. The other subordinate factions of the Song clan could still do business with the Divine Weapon Pavilion. Song Yen was worried that in the long run, the Song clan's strength would decline, and the other 5 factions would become stronger. The Song Nation would fall apart again. Hence, he decided to strike first to gain the upper hand. Over the past few years, he has been hoarding all the resources of the Song Nation. Now, he is recruiting cultivators from the other 5 factions and gathering them more than 2,500 kilometers south of Wuxia Pass. His goal is already very clear. He wants to attack Wuxia Pass again. At this point, Wang Daoyuan asked, not to mention that the battle has not started yet. Even if it does, the Myriad Spirit sect will be holding it off first. I wonder why the Supreme First Elder is looking for me at this time? Zhong Jinyang answered, the Song Nation is going all out this time. Furthermore, Song Yen has managed the Song Nation well for the past 100 years. In the Song Nation, he can be said to be the one who keeps his word. The strength that the Song Nation can bring out now is definitely incomparable to that of 100 years ago. Even if the Myriad Spirit sect goes all out, they will not be able to hold off the Song Nation for long. If we want to hold off the Song Nation, the Netherworld sect and the Cruel Sun Palace will have to contribute half of their strength to help the Myriad Spirit sect. The sect hopes that you can bring some of the people from the administrator's residence to Wuxia Pass first. These shameless words made Wang Daoyuan so angry that he almost laughed. The Netherworld sect had 7 golden core cultivators, but they wanted him to hold them off first. Song Yen was hated by his master because he dealt with him. If he joined the battle, would the Song Nation still want to kill him? With his master around, the other factions would not dare to come to Yan'an County to make trouble for him. However, if he went to Wuxia Pass of his own accord, it would be a different story. On the battlefield, life and death were predestined. It was normal for anyone to die in battle. This could not be used as an excuse to seek revenge. If he died in battle at Wuxia Pass, his master would have no reason to attack the Song family. Wang Daoyuan naturally would not fall for this trick. He cupped his hands and said, Supreme First Elder, I remember that my duty was to guard Yan'an County and defend the sect from the threat of the Sky Chop Mountain Range and Shanbei, right? Zhong Jinyang answered, this is indeed your duty. However, the administrator's residence is still a subordinate faction of the sect. Now that the sect needs you, it's reasonable for you to be temporarily transferred. Wang Daoyuan sneered, if the administrator's residence is safe and sound, it's reasonable for the sect to transfer me to another place. However, a year ago, I joined forces with half-demons and demons to kill 3 refined corpses that fled to the south. Who can guarantee that the refined corpses won't flee to the south in the future? A few years ago, 4 refined corpses entered the Sky Chop Mountain Range from the east. In the end, they were blocked by more than 10 rank 4 demons in a cave with dense yin qi. The demons did not dare to go down easily. Now, both sides are in a deadlock. As far as I know, there are more than 10 refined corpses. 4 of them are trapped in the Sky Chop Mountain Range. 3 of them died in the hands of me, demons, and half-demons. This is only half of them. The other half are still in their lairs. None of the 3 superior rank 4 corpses have come out yet. Once these 3 fellows and several superior rank 4 corpses come to Shanbei, who in the Netherworld sect can stop them? I'm afraid that you don't have the ability to subdue superior rank 4 corpses, right? At that time, several rank 4 corpses will wreak havoc. The Netherworld sect's hundreds of years of hard work will go down the drain. With me here, once the refined corpses invade the south, I can join forces with the demons and half-demons to stop them. My master will not sit by and do nothing. There's still a chance to stop the refined corpses. I hope that Grand Elder and Sect Master will not only look at the immediate benefits but ignore the risks behind. Hearing this, Zhong Jinyang fell into deep thought. It was indeed unreasonable to transfer Wang Daoyuan to Wuxia Pass. If Wang Daoyuan really wanted to go against it, there was nothing he could do. Otherwise, the Wang family wouldn't have grown so big. There were no benefits for the sect if they shed all pretense of cordiality. After all, Wang Daoyuan controlled an important trade route for the Netherworld sect. In these years, the sect had profited a lot from this trade route. If this trade route was cut off, the sect's losses would be huge. Zhong Zhenyang pondered for a long time before replying, "We don't know much about the refined corpses. We didn't know that there were 3 superior rank 4 corpses. Now, it seems that the sect has not thought it through. How about this? The sect will not conscript the cultivators of the administrator's residence, but you have to promise me one thing." Chapter 556. Although the Netherworld sect couldn't do anything to him, Wang Daoyuan didn't want to flip the table directly. The administrator's residence needed the Netherworld sect's resources to earn spirit stones. The Netherworld sect provided a year's supply of all kinds of Tier 1 and Tier 2 resources, which added up to 7 to 8 million spirit stones. Wang Daoyuan sold them to the Green Willow Province and Guiyan Market, and he could earn more than 1 million spirit stones. Before the conditions to destroy the Netherworld sect were ripe, this source of income couldn't be cut off. He asked, "What are the conditions?" "Grand Elder can tell me directly. If I can agree, I will naturally agree. If I can't do it, I won't agree no matter what." Zhong Zhenyang smiled and said, "Administrator, don't worry. This condition isn't difficult. It's just that the war is imminent, and we need a lot of flying warships, Tier 3 and above artifacts, talismans, and so on. The sect wants to buy these things from the administrator's residence. Previously, Vice Sect Leader Gu also talked to you about flying warships. I can agree to your request on behalf of the sect." Wang Daoyuan put on a fake smile. "Now that you're begging me, you still want to follow the previous conditions. You're dreaming." He looked at Zhong Zhenyang and smiled. "You didn't agree to my conditions at the beginning. It's been more than 10 years, and the conditions should change. The sect sells the materials to me to refine flying warships. I can sell them to you at the price of 800,000 spirit stones each. The administrator's residence also has a large number of people to support, and they can't work for free. As for the quantity, at most 1 per year. There are too few craftsmen in the administrator's residence. Only the Wang family and the Yang family have Tier 3 craftsmen. If they use all the materials to refine flying warships, they can only take out 1 per year. However, the sect can't restrict the Wang family's flying warships and flying warships in the future. As for artifacts, talismans, and other resources, the administrator's residence's foundation is too weak. Without a stable Tier 3 spirit item output, it's impossible to sell them in large quantities." Zhong Zhenyang thought for a while and didn't intend to bargain on these trivial matters. The previous restrictions were also useless. He nodded and said, "I can agree to these conditions, but can you refine a Type 4 flying warship? If you can refine it, the sect will send someone to assist you. The materials will also be provided by the sect. If you refine a low-grade 4th-grade flying warship, we will give you 10 million spirit stones." The refining method of a low-grade Tier 4 flying warship was different from that of a Tier 3 flying warship where everyone knew the refining method. In the entire Beiyuan Xiuxian, only the 4 top powers and a few first-rate and second-rate countries could produce it. The Netherworld sect did not even have a decent Tier 4 blacksmithing legacy, let alone a Tier 4 flying warship. Wang Daoyuan did not have the crafting method for a Type 4 flying warship. There was no mention of flying warships in the inheritance left behind by the ancestral masters. He shook his head and said, "You're making things difficult for me. The refinement method of a Tier 4 flying warship is definitely not leaked to the outside world. Although I have obtained Master's refining legacy, I do not know how to refine a Type 4 flying warship." Zhong Zhenyang sighed and said, "Then that's it. Since we're done talking about official matters, let's talk about private matters. How many corpse cores did you get from the 3 refined corpses? I can buy them at a high price." Zhong Zhenyang was not young and should be around 900 years old. There was no point in cultivating with corpse borrowing pills. Moreover, the corpse core's grade was too low and had limited use for late-stage golden core cultivators. Wang Daoyuan asked, You're already a late-stage golden core cultivator, so there's not much difference between peak and late-stage golden core cultivators. What do you want it for? Zhong Jinyang shook his head and smiled bitterly. I'm already buried up to my neck. Why would I waste something like this? I want this corpse core for my useless grandson. There are no outstanding figures in the Zhong clan's younger generation. The only one who has cultivated to the peak of the Violet Palace realm is my grandson, Zhong Yang. But he's already over 400 years old and his talent is not at the top. There's no hope for him to form a core on his own. I'm afraid that the Zhong clan will not have any descendants after I die, so I want him to use the corpse core's power to form a core. A corpse core formed by a 4th-grade refined corpse was similar to a golden core. It wasn't impossible for a cultivator who cultivated with death chi and corpse chi to form a core by force. However, the price was a bit high. Using this to form a core would harm one's foundation. After forming a core, it would be much more difficult to take a step forward. Wang Daoyuan naturally didn't have any objections. The corpse core was just a decoration in his hands and it wasn't bad to use it to exchange for something. As for the side effects, he didn't care about the Zhong clan's matters. He smiled and replied, the 3 corpse cores are in my hands, but 2 of them have consumed too much death chi and corpse chi. The only one that is intact is a low-grade 4th-grade one. May I know what you can take out to exchange for it? Zhong Jinyang smiled mysteriously and took out 2 pages made of animal skin. Wang Daoyuan took the pages and secretly mobilized the dark sound soul-burying bell to protect his Violet Palace realm in case there were any tricks. Only then did he release his spiritual sense to check. There weren't any tricks in the pages. The content recorded on the first page was very simple, only the 4 words, essence of divine powers. The second page was introductory and recorded the origin of the essence of divine powers. This was the inheritance of the Valley of Beasts. Back in the day, the Valley of Beasts raised a large number of demon beasts with divine beast bloodlines. When demon beasts with a high concentration of divine beast bloodlines broke through to the 4th grade, they would undergo a bloodline heavenly tribulation and awaken minor divine powers. The Valley of Beasts wanted to explore the mysteries of minor divine powers by studying these demon beasts with minor divine powers. This essence of divine powers was the result of their exploration. The essence of divine powers could increase a cultivator's chances of comprehending minor divine powers. This kind of inheritance was a treasure to any force. Wang Daoyuan asked in surprise, why didn't you give this to the sect and give it to me instead? Zhong Jinyang sighed. What good would it do for the Zhong clan if I gave it to the sect? Although the Luo, Zhong, Gu, and Ming clans are all local families, there are still differences between us. The 4 clans have been passed down for thousands of years and all of them have their own treasures. This essence of divine powers isn't as powerful as you think. It only points the way for golden core cultivators to comprehend minor divine powers. How far you can go depends on your own ability. My Zhong clan has had this essence of divine powers for more than 3,000 years. In these 3,000 years, the Zhong clan has produced more than 10 golden core cultivators. However, only 3 of them have minor divine powers, and one of them is me. You have excellent talent. With this essence of divine powers, the chances of you comprehending minor divine powers are very high. I want to use this essence of divine powers to exchange for the 3 corpse cores in your hands. What do you think? Wang Daoyuan really didn't know that Zhong Jinyang had minor divine powers and was secretly shocked. A golden core late-stage cultivator with minor divine powers couldn't be compared to an ordinary person. Wang Daoyuan had broken through to the middle stage of golden core and could defeat ordinary golden core late-stage cultivators. However, to deal with a golden core late-stage cultivator with minor divine powers, he could at most retreat. He asked, even if it's as you said, the value of this essence of divine powers is not low. Are you willing to give it to me? Zhong Jinyang said self-deprecatingly, your appetite is too big. I can't take out a living 4th-rank spiritual plant. If there is no golden core cultivator among the younger generation, this thing can't be kept. It's better to take a gamble and exchange it for corpse cores. My Zhong clan doesn't have any conflict with you. This is also a good karma. When you become strong, please take care of my Zhong clan's younger generation. Wang Daoyuan naturally knew what he meant. This old fox saw his potential and wanted to bet on both sides. If the Netherworld sect's ship sank, he could still have a way out. He took out 3 black beads and said, "Well said, the 3 corpse cores I got are all here." Zhong Zhenyang used his divine sense to scan them and nodded with satisfaction. He took out a thick bee skin book. After obtaining the essence of divine powers, Wang Daoyuan used the dark sound soul-bearing bell to protect his Zifu before releasing his divine sense to check. This beast skin book had more than 100 pages. Only 10 pages recorded the techniques to comprehend minor divine powers. The rest were all successful examples. Chapter 557. Wang Daoyuan flipped through a few of them and found them interesting. The essence of the divine ability wasn't made up, regardless of whether these examples were real or fake. The method of comprehending the charm with the help of the Purple Mansion phenomenon was very similar to Zhou Luan's secret method. Zhou Luan also said that the secret method of comprehending the charm was created by herself. Now, it seemed that she had obtained the incomplete inheritance of the Valley of Beasts. Wang Daoyuan was unhappy. She said that she created the inheritance of the Valley of Beasts herself. I thought she was unfathomable. Once I'm done with this, I'll punish her. Zhong Zhenyang carefully checked the 3 corpse cores and was very satisfied. He asked, "There's no problem with the corpse cores. Are you satisfied with the essence of the divine ability?" Wang Daoyuan nodded. "It's really good. This thing can't be created by ordinary forces. It should be the inheritance of the Valley of Beasts." Zhong Zhenyang smiled. "Since there's no problem, I won't stay any longer. In the future, the materials for the flying warship will be transported to Qingli Market." Wang Daoyuan stood up and cupped his hands. "Farewell, Grand Supreme Elder." After Zhong Zhenyang left, he didn't rush back to Guiyan Market. Song wasn't peaceful. Another war was about to begin. His family had to prepare for war. In the past few years, the 3 sects of Zhao had become stronger. The Netherworld sect had gained another golden core cultivator. In the cruel Sun Palace, Tu Yoming's master, Daoist Qi Yuan, had already passed away. However, there was another peak Purple Mansion realm cultivator who had formed his golden core. The total number of golden core cultivators didn't change. The oldest and strongest of the myriad spirit sect, Daoist Yulong, still had a few decades to live. There was only 1 peak Purple Mansion realm cultivator. The number of golden core cultivators had increased by 1. Now, there were 9 golden core cultivators. This was the strength on the surface. In fact, it was hard to say if there were any hidden golden core cultivators. In the past 100 years, there hadn't been any war. The number of Purple Mansion realm and Foundation establishment cultivators had increased by a lot. The state of Zhao was a first-rate country, and its resources were abundant. Before the rebellion of the 3 major sects, the imperial family of the state of Zhao had over 30 golden core cultivators, not to mention the Violet Palace and Foundation establishment cultivators. Right now, the number of Jindan and Zifu disciples in the state of Zhao was only a third of what it had been in the past. There was a lot of room for growth. Wang Daoyuan wasn't too sure about the Myriad Spirit sect and the Cruel Sun Palace, but the Netherworld sect had a net increase of more than 20 Zifu disciples and 300 Foundation establishment disciples. Ever since the Song Kingdom was defeated at Wuxing Pass over 100 years ago, they had suffered heavy losses in their Zifu Realm Foundation establishment cultivators. Furthermore, the Song Nation's resources could not be compared to the Zhao Nation's. Even if the Song Nation's strength increased, the increase was not as great as the Zhao Nation's. The only advantage was that Song Yen had strong control over the Song Nation, allowing him to bring out most of its potential. It wasn't like the state of Zhao, which was divided into 3 factions that schemed against each other. When facing enemies, they had to be wary of their allies. Being able to unleash 40 to 50% of one's full strength was already considered pretty good. Although the possibility of the state of Song directly breaking through Wuxing Pass wasn't high, Wang Daoyuan had to be cautious. The three major sects didn't only have the state of Song as their opponent, but also the remaining imperial family of Zhao. The ninth prince's faction was more stable and wouldn't make a move easily. However, the sixth prince and Lord Linhai weren't people who could endure loneliness. The sixth prince's faction in the state of Song was the Zhao family. Once Wucheng Pass was in danger, the sixth prince's faction would definitely make a move. The Beiyuan sword sect in Shanbei had been pretending to be obedient all these years, but the sixth prince's faction was very willing to invest in Shanbei. Although he didn't like the Netherworld sect, the Netherworld sect was still stronger than the sixth prince. They wanted to take advantage of the situation, but they were all cowards and didn't dare to use force. As long as they could make a profit, they could still do business. In addition, the three major sects in the state of Zhao were restraining each other, so the Netherworld sect didn't dare to play with him. The sixth prince was a self-righteous fool. If Wang Daoyuan publicly called him a long-legged prince, he would definitely use his power to take revenge. If he defeated the three major sects and regained power in the state of Zhao, the Wang family would suffer. No matter how the situation changed in the future, they could only protect themselves if they were strong enough. In the next few years, the situation in the state of Zhao would change a lot. Wang Daoyuan's family needed to increase their strength as soon as possible. At this moment, the fifth great-uncle walked in. He couldn't stay here when the two Golden Core Realm practitioners were discussing. The fifth great-uncle asked, "Why did Zhong Zhenyang come here?" Wang Daoyuan answered, "If the state of Song wants to make trouble, the Thousand Spirits sect won't be able to stop it. The Netherworld sect and the Cruel Sun Palace need to send reinforcements. Those bastards from the Netherworld sect wanted to make the Wang family a scapegoat, but I refused." After bargaining for a long time, the Wang family finally sold them a third-level lower-grade flying warship for 800,000 spirit stones a year. We can still make a lot of spirit stones. Besides, the Netherworld sect will sell us the materials to make the flying warship in the future. Hearing this, the fifth great-uncle said with a smile, "It seems that we didn't lose anything. Instead, we took advantage of them." Wang Daoyuan shook his head and said, "It's not that simple. The state of Song wants to fight with all their might. They won't be easy to deal with. Once the three major sects suffer heavy losses, the sixth prince will definitely come out to make trouble. If they win, the Wang family won't have a good time in the future. No matter which side we choose in the future, we can't be too weak. We have to increase our strength as soon as possible. The 12th uncle is not far from the peak of the Violet Palace realm. If he's lucky, he'll have a chance to form his core in 10 years. You should cultivate to the peak of the Violet Palace realm as soon as possible. I'll try my best to prepare some treasures for you to form your core." The 12th uncle had an 8-inch and 7-inch water spiritual root. His physical body and spiritual energy had reached the standard of forming his core. He didn't need any spiritual objects, but his success rate was high. The fifth great-uncle's spiritual root was less than 8 inches, and he still had 3 spiritual roots. Without the help of spiritual objects, the success rate of forming his core should be less than 50%. The jade needle white Yusong in the spiritual pearl space couldn't be counted on. Even if it could form his core on time, it would take more than 100 years to take effect. At that time, he could secretly kill a 4th-grade demonic beast and use its golden core to refine elixirs that could assist in forming his core. The fifth great-uncle smiled bitterly. "My talent is far inferior to Shui's, and I've wasted a lot of resources over the years. I'm still a step away from the late stage of the Violet Palace realm. If you have any resources, you should use them on Shui. There's no need to waste them on me." Wang Daoyuan took out 100 purple rhyme pills and 5 caddies of 3rd-grade cloud tea. "Don't worry. I have plenty of resources. Among the clansmen, apart from the 12th uncle, you're the one with the highest chance of forming your core. Dezhao might be talented, but he's still too young. It'll take him another 200 years to form his core. You're the most suitable person to form your core." The 5th great-uncle took the items and said, "Then I'll try to form my core before the battle of life and death. At that time, the clan will have 3 golden core cultivators. We should be able to protect ourselves." On the surface, the Wang family only had 1 golden core cultivator, but in reality, They had 4 golden core cultivators. Unfortunately, Wang Daoyuan was the only one who could show his face. After settling the matters of the administrator's mansion, Wang Daoyuan returned to the Jade Spring Peak and explained the clan's matters to his third brother. The 3 Peak Foundation establishment cultivators in the clan had to establish their Violet Palace realm as soon as possible. Especially his little uncle Wang Shouzhe. After establishing his Violet Palace realm, his spiritual sense would be strengthened, and the speed at which he could refine the flying warship would increase greatly. The matter of clansmen exchanging Foundation establishment pills also had to be opened up. As long as their spiritual roots exceeded 6.5 inches or their attainments in pill refining, smithing, and talisman formations reached the 2nd grade, they would be allowed to borrow contribution points to exchange for Foundation establishment pills. A resource like Foundation establishment pills was worthless if it wasn't used. The more Foundation establishment cultivators the clan had, the more power it would have. As for himself, he had to improve his talisman crafting skills as soon as possible. With the tool talisman inheritance from his master, he didn't lack 4th grade materials for refining tools. As long as his talisman crafting and tool refining skills reached the low-grade 4th grade, he would be able to refine 4th grade talismans. After the 5th grade uncle and the 12th uncle formed their cores, each of them would have the strength of 2 or 3 early-stage golden core cultivators with a few talismans each. This was the best way to increase the clan's strength in a short period of time. Lesser divine abilities were too elusive. Even if one had the essence of a divine ability, comprehending a lesser divine ability was a matter of luck. Chapter 558. After settling these matters, Wang Daoyuan did not immediately return to Yanfang City. Instead, he stayed at Wuxia Peak to see what results these measures would bring. Of course, he did not idle around. He began to improve his talisman crafting skills. Ever since he established his Violet Palace, he had only crafted a few golden lightning demon destroying talismans. After that, he rarely crafted talismans. His talisman crafting skills had stagnated at lower tier 3 for nearly 100 years. The 6 mu of blood dragon wood in the spiritual pearl had already grown to middle tier 3. There were also a few that had successfully broken through their limits after absorbing 2 golden core lightning tribulations. They had grown to upper tier 3 spiritual wood. Spiritual plants that could break through their limits would definitely have a bright future. The seeds they bore would also have greater potential. Some of them might grow to upper tier 3 and form a new breed of spiritual plants. If the upper tier 3 blood dragon wood was old enough, its bark might be able to be used to make lower tier 4 talisman paper. The quality of the charcoal made from the tree trunk would also be higher. Naturally, these few trees could not be cut down and used to breed new blood dragon wood. The rest could be chopped down and used to make upper tier 3 talisman paper. Over the years, the clan had stored a lot of lower tier 3 spiritual ink and did not lack anything. First, he used the lower tier 3 talisman paper to craft a few golden lightning demon destroying talismans. Although he did not craft talismans often, he relied on his mid-golden core cultivation and spiritual sense cultivation that was comparable to a late golden core cultivator. After a few days of adaptation, his success rate increased to 60%. The golden lightning demon destroying talismans that he had exchanged with the Foundation establishment pill from the Shen family back then ranged from lower tier 3 to upper tier 3. Since he was familiar with crafting talismans, he could use it to improve his talisman crafting skills. With his spiritual sense cultivation, he could craft lower tier 3 talismans 10 to 20 times a day without much pressure. His spiritual sense was strong enough and he had a foundation in formations. His skills improved very quickly. In just a year, his success rate of crafting upper tier 3 talismans had reached upper tier 3. Now, he had more than 200 lower tier 3 golden lightning demon destroying talismans, 500 middle tier and 300 upper tier talismans. The results were remarkable, but he had consumed a lot of lower tier 3 spiritual ink and more than half of the talisman paper. These talismans were enough to send all the local and foreign Violet Palace realm cultivators of the underworld sect away. On the other side of Wuching Pass, the Song state had finished assembling. Now, both sides were fighting on a small scale, testing each other. During this year, the clan opened up the supply of Foundation Establishment pills, and more than 10 cultivators reached the Foundation Establishment realm. There was no telling when the war would break out, and the Wang family's current preparations were still insufficient. Once the two sides fought and the Sixth Prince's bloodline stirred things up behind the scenes, it was very likely that a golden core battle would break out. Their current Jindan battle prowess was still not enough. If they did not expose the 3 hidden Jindan battle prowess, the Wang family still did not have the ability to protect themselves. Wang Daoist planned to raise his talisman crafting and equipment refining level to 4th tier low grade in one go, and then refine more sky sealing sword prison talismans. At this time, more than 500 kilometers to the southeast of the 100 River Lake, more than 30 cultivators of the Demon Execution Division of the Administrator's Office were hiding themselves, preparing to ambush a rank 3 demon beast. About 30 miles to the east of them, 2 demonic beasts were fighting. The 2 demonic beasts were both 3rd level lower grade demonic beasts. One of them was a 3rd level lower grade golden tiger with a body length of 50 to 60 feet. The other was a white ape with a height of more than 10 feet. There was a bulge between the ape's eyebrows, and it looked like it was about to grow a horn. Both of them were not good-tempered, and for some reason, they were fighting. The golden tiger emitted a golden light all over, while the white ape's fists flickered with blue electric light. The golden tiger pounced, and the white ape easily dodged the attacks by relying on its nimble body. From time to time, it would greet the golden tiger with its fists. In less than 100 breaths of time, the golden tiger had been punched more than 10 times, while the white ape was unharmed. The golden tiger knew that it was no match for the white ape and wanted to escape. However, the thunder ape flashed with electric light and used an escape technique. It appeared in front of the golden tiger in an instant and sent it flying with a punch. The golden tiger knew that it could not escape at this time, so it let out a tiger roar, and then its spiritual power erupted. It pounced on the white ape, ready to fight to the death. Electric light flickered on the white ape's right arm, and a blue arm shadow more than 10 feet long appeared. The arm shadow threw a punch, and the golden tiger flashed with golden light and was sent flying more than 100 feet. After falling to the ground, it did not even struggle and died. The white ape disdainfully dispersed the arm shadow, and with a light leap, it arrived next to the golden tiger's corpse. It picked it up and put it into the spirit beast pouch at its waist. There was a vine tied around its waist, and 3 storage pouches hung from the vine. After putting away the golden tiger's corpse, the white ape continued to head west. The cultivators of the Monster Execution Department were lying in ambush in the direction it was heading. At this time, several Peak Foundation Establishment cultivators were communicating with each other. A thin and shrewd cultivator asked, "This white ape is very strong. The 2 of us might not be its match, and there might even be casualties. Why don't we retreat first?" A burly man with a full beard answered, "Wealth comes from danger. This white ape has 3 storage pouches, and it just put a golden tiger inside. There's definitely a lot of good stuff. Moreover, it's a lightning attribute demonic beast. If we can capture it alive with a formation and offer it to the administrator, we'll probably get a big reward. There's so many of us, why should we be afraid of a beast?" As soon as these words were said, the other cultivators were also tempted. They had already set up a formation more than 300 feet ahead. With the help of a 3rd-grade formation and a few 3rd-grade magic tools, it was very likely that they would be able to take down a 3rd-grade low-grade demonic beast. Moreover, there were still cultivators from the War Department behind them, and they had a 3rd-grade low-grade flying warship. The others no longer objected, and unanimously agreed to do this. Soon, the white ape entered the formation they had set up. They were all wearing spirit-restricting silk cloaks, so the white ape did not notice anything wrong. Suddenly, a fiery red light barrier appeared around it, and it kept releasing fire attribute attacks. The other cultivators also took out 3rd-grade magic tools to attack. The white ape dodged several attacks, and lightning flashed all over its body. A moment later, a giant blue ape shadow more than 300 feet tall appeared out of thin air. The giant ape shadow punched the ground, and blue lightning covered a radius of 500 feet. With a series of cracking sounds, the fiery red light barrier disappeared, and the formation plates buried in the ground all shattered. The cultivators who were lying in ambush several hundred feet away were also forced to reveal themselves to avoid the lightning attacks. The white ape's face was full of anger, and it jumped into the air, pouncing on the cultivators. Seeing this, the cultivators did not dare to resist, and they all fled on their swords. However, the white ape was still relentless in its pursuit. A late-stage Foundation establishment cultivator of the Wang family took out a flying warship, and it enlarged to more than 10 feet long. He called a few cultivators from the War Department to board the ship, and they controlled the flying warship to resist the white ape's attacks. Seeing him, the white ape stopped chasing. A third-grade ape-type demonic beast could not speak, but it had no problem transmitting sound. It transmitted its voice to the Wang family cultivator, "Mingxing, don't be afraid, I'm the Thunder Ape." This late-stage Foundation establishment cultivator was called Wang Mingxing, a cultivator with 3 spiritual roots. His main spiritual root was a 7-inch fire spiritual root. When he was in the early stage of Foundation establishment, he was stationed at Fallen Dragon Ridge all year round. Before the Thunder Ape broke through to the 3rd grade, it had always stayed at Fallen Dragon Ridge, so it could naturally recognize him. However, he was later transferred to another place, and he never saw the Thunder Ape again. After the Thunder Ape broke through to the 3rd grade, it changed too much, so he could not recognize it. Now that the Thunder Ape transmitted its voice, he did not doubt that ordinary demonic beasts would not know his name. He shouted, "Everyone, there's no need to run. This is the spiritual beast Thunder Ape raised by 7th Uncle. It's really a flood rushing against the Dragon King's temple." Seeing that Wang Mingxing recognized it, the Thunder Ape also shrunk its body to the size of an ordinary person and extended a hand to him. Everyone in the Wang family knew what the Thunder Ape meant by this action. Wang Mingxing took out a jar of wine and threw it to it. The Thunder Ape received the jar of wine and drank it in one gulp, then laughed loudly. Everyone was relieved, and they landed on the ground again. Since the formation plates were already broken, they could no longer continue hunting, and everyone returned to Clear Glass City. The Thunder Ape rode on Wang Mingxing's flying warship and arrived at Jade Spring Peak. Chapter 559. As soon as the flying warship approached Jade Spring Peak, Wang Daoyuan sensed it and discovered the Thunder Ape with a sweep of his divine sense. Although it had changed a lot, the characteristics of its spirit power fluctuations and its soul had not changed. Spirit beasts did not have a purple mansion to protect their souls, so high-level cultivators could directly observe their souls. This fellow had gone deep into the heavenly/mountain range to search for spirit items to brew wine. Now that it had returned to Jade Spring Peak, it had most likely found everything. The Thunder Ape landed on Jade Spring Peak and went straight to Wang Daoyuan's cave abode. Its figure was similar to an ordinary person, and it was brought back by the flying warship, so it did not cause panic among the clansmen. After it entered the cave abode, Wang Daoyuan took out a jar of 100-year-old spirit peach dew and gave it to it. The Thunder Ape took the wine jar and drank it in one gulp. After this fellow broke through, its alcohol tolerance had increased, and it did not have any reaction after drinking a jar of wine. Wang Daoyuan asked, "Have you gathered all the recipes for brewing wine?" The Thunder Ape nodded and took out 2 storage bags from its waist, pouring out the contents. One of the storage bags contained more than 20 kinds of 2nd-grade spirit herbs. These spirit herbs were relatively rare and not very valuable. Wang Daoyuan asked, "Are these the ingredients for brewing wine?" The Thunder Ape nodded again. It might not know about other things, but it was an expert when it came to brewing wine. In these years in Fallen Dragon Ridge, it had done 2 proper things. One was hunting demon beasts, and the other was brewing wine. When it came to brewing wine, it would definitely do as it wished. In the other storage bag, there were more than 30 kinds of spirit fruits and spirit herbs. Most of them were 2nd-grade spirit fruits that strengthened one's blood essence, divine sense, and cultivation. There were 3 types of third-grade spirit herbs, and all of them were third-grade high-grade. They were the phoenix blood fruit that strengthened one's blood essence, the 9-leaf ghost grass that strengthened one's divine sense, and the dragon saliva dew grass that increased one's cultivation. These 3 third-grade spirit herbs were extremely rare. When Wang Daoyuan was in the Violet Mansion realm, he had also put up a bounty in the clan, but unfortunately, he did not find any. Finally, there was a 4th-grade spirit herb called the astral fruit. The astral fruit had a high growth rate. When the fruit tree grew to 3rd-grade high-grade, it would begin to bear fruit. If the environment was suitable, it could grow to 4th-grade high-grade. This thing only grew at the peak of a mountain. During the process of its growth, it needed to absorb the power of the stars. However, the growth and advancement of the fruit tree didn't require the power of the stars. Therefore, the seeds could be planted in the space of the spiritual pearl. When the fruit tree grew up, it would be transplanted to an environment that could receive the power of the stars, allowing it to bear fruit. Using these things to brew wine, drinking them would have a very strong effect on increasing one's cultivation. Moreover, one's physical body, divine sense, and spiritual energy would all improve. The star spirit fruit was a rank 4 spirit plant, so this wine could also be considered a rank 4 spirit wine. According to his master, the power of the stars contained both yin and yang, and could contain the 5 elements. If he could use the power of the stars to temper his body, it would be easier for him to break through the yuaning. There were so many types of phase in the spirit wine's recipe, and it was inevitable that there would be a conflict of medicinal properties. By using the astral spirit fruit, he should be making use of the astral energy's characteristic of containing the 5 elements to avoid the conflict of medicinal properties. The spirit wine brewed with these materials should also have some effect of tempering the body with the power of the stars. It could improve the physical body, soul, and spiritual power in all aspects. Dozens of spiritual items would not conflict with each other. This kind of spiritual wine could not be brewed by ordinary spiritual beasts. Wang Daoyuan asked, "Did you awaken some inherited memories?" The thunder ape was at a loss, and then it asked, "What are inherited memories?" Wang Daoyuan answered, "It's when you suddenly know something you have never learned or experienced before." The thunder ape nodded and replied telepathically, "A little. I suddenly found out how to brew this spirit wine." He was now certain that the spirit wine's recipe should have come from the horned thunder ape. Although the horned thunder ape was not a divine beast, it was still one of the top races below divine beasts. Some demonic beasts with divine beast bloodlines might not be a match for the horned thunder ape in a battle of the same level. As for how much the thunder ape could grow, it was hard to say. Although he had gathered all the phase needed to brew the wine, he still had to ask how much of each phase should be used. These phase were all rather precious, and he could not bear to use them to test the ratio of the phase. Wang Daoyuan asked, "How much of each phase should be used?" With regards to the spirit wine, there was nothing the thunder ape couldn't understand. It transmitted a message and explained the ratio of each phase. In the spirit pearl space, 2 Yoming's clone memorized everything. Some of these phase were already in the spirit pearl space and could be ignored. The rest of the phase needed to be planted in the spirit pearl space. The spirit farm's area had increased by 3 mu in the past few years. Now, he had not planted anything, but he had planted all the grade 2 phase that the thunder ape brought back. As for the phoenix blood fruit and dragon saliva dew grass, there were fewer seeds. There were even 2 star spirit fruits and 2 seeds. He would first plant them in the reserved spirit farm near the life spirit fire. In the future, when there were more seeds, he would plant them in other places. There were quite a lot of good things in this reserved spirit farm, and they were all grade 3 and grade 4 spiritual herbs. The 9-leaf nether soul grass was an exception. It could only grow in places with dense yin energy, and it had to be planted near the Gui water nether flame. After arranging the spiritual herbs, the thunder ape had a longing expression. Wang Daoyuan naturally knew what it wanted. He took out 10 jars of century-old spirit peach dew and handed them to it. The demonic beasts at the east end of Fallen Dragon Ridge are more active. Yun-Yi can't handle them. Go over there and watch the territory. In the future, there will be clansmen sending you spirit wine every month. To the Thunder Ape, there was wine to drink and fights to fight. This was the most perfect ape life. After storing the spirit wine into the storage bag at its waist, it eagerly left Wang Daoyuan's cave abode and went to find its third brother, Wang Daocheng. When it arrived at Wang Daocheng's side, it took out the golden pattern tiger's corpse from the spirit beast bag and extended its hand. Wang Daocheng also took out a few jars of wine from the storage bag and handed them to the Thunder Ape. Looking at its proficiency, it was likely that it had done this many times in the past. The Thunder Ape's awakened memories were also incomplete. For example, it didn't know the name of this spirit wine. Wang Daoyuan named this spirit wine 100 fruit wine. Of the spiritual items brought back by the Thunder Ape, the Tier 2 spiritual items were still alright. But for the Tier 3 spiritual items and the Star Spirit fruit, it would take up to 1,000 years from the seed to the fruit. It would take another few hundred years for the spirit fruit to ripen. Even with the time flow block in the space of the spirit bead, it would still take a few decades to brew wine. Next, not only did he have to improve his talisman crafting skills, but he also had to improve his weapon crafting skills. Whether it was crafting weapon talismans or sword talismans, he needed to be at least Tier 4 low-grade weapon crafting skills. To craft Tier 4 spirit talismans, he needed Tier 4 talisman paper or other materials. If he used Tier 4 talisman paper, he would need Tier 4 spirit ink and talisman brush. These things were nowhere to be found. He could only improve his weapon crafting skills to Tier 4 low-grade first and craft the embryonic forms of sword talismans and weapon talismans before improving his talisman crafting skills. During the Golden Core ceremony, the Divine Weapon Pavilion gave him 2,000 kilograms of Tier 4 low-grade materials. These materials were definitely not enough to craft a flying warship, but it was more than enough to craft sword talismans and weapon talismans. He used a year to successfully craft a Tier 4 low-grade magic weapon and became a Tier 4 low-grade weapon craftsman. He could also craft the embryonic form of sword talismans. Sword talismans and weapon talismans were a bit similar. They both needed to craft a Tier 4 spirit talisman embryonic form and then inscribe runes. Moreover, both of them could be used repeatedly to replenish spirit power. The difference was that the sword talisman was slightly less difficult to craft. Especially a few years ago, he had been comprehending the Heaven's Sealing Sword Prison and had a better understanding of the Heaven's Sealing Sword Prison talisman. The success rate of crafting it was higher. The weapon talisman was created by his own ancestor by combining magic talismans and weapon crafting skills. The runes of magic talismans were the most complicated of the three major schools. It was very difficult to inscribe complex runes on a Tier 4 magic weapon. Of course, weapon talismans were not completely useless. When the weapon talisman's spirit power was exhausted, it could be used again as long as the spirit power of the corresponding attribute was replenished. And when the sword talisman's spirit power was exhausted, only sword cultivators could replenish it. Moreover, it was not simply spirit power that was replenished, but sword chi and the sword intent that one had comprehended. Wang Daoyuan's talisman crafting skills and weapon crafting skills were not enough. It was better to practice with sword talismans that were of lower difficulty. Chapter 560. The sword talisman's name wasn't just because it could release sword cultivator spells. The sword talisman itself was a special flying sword. If the sword talisman prototype was made larger, it would be a magic longsword. However, the resonance between the runes was relatively weak. If the sword talisman prototype was made the size of a normal longsword, the runes wouldn't resonate with each other and wouldn't be effective. Therefore, the sword talisman prototype had to be reduced to a few inches. The Heaven's Sealing Sword Prison talisman was only 3 inches long. It was easy to imagine how difficult it was to inscribe a complete set of runes on such a small material. It was impossible to refine without the power of a golden core stage spiritual sense. The sword talisman prototype's small size increased the difficulty of refining, but it also had an advantage in that it saved materials. For a poor person like Wang Daoyuan, grade 4 materials were too hard to come by. Refining a grade 4 magic tool required at least a few kilograms of materials. Refining a sword talisman only required a few taels. Refining sword talismans was similar to refining tool talismans. First, the spirit talisman prototype, which was a small grade 4 magic tool, was refined, then the runes were inscribed on the magic tool. If a very small magic tool had both tool and runes, it would easily conflict with each other. This was a bit like the core of a flying warship, except that tool and formation runes coexisted. The processing methods could also be used for reference. Both involved inscribing runes, embedding metal threads, and sealing the runes with metal powder. Refining sword talismans required a lot less work, but it was especially difficult. With Wang Daoyuan's skill, refining a sword talisman required more than 10 days. After refining, more than half of his spiritual sense would be consumed. If the refinement failed, he would lose everything. He used half a year and failed more than 10 times before finally refining the first heaven sealing sword prison talisman. Then he used another half a year to refine 3 sword talismans. Including the one he exchanged in Zhou, he had a total of 5 heaven sealing sword prison talismans. He didn't intend to continue refining them. The only person in the clan who could replenish sword chi was himself. If he had more sword talismans, replenishing sword chi would be a waste of time. With 5 sword talismans, the other cultivators of the Wang clan would have the ability to deal with early golden core cultivators. If an early Aurus core stage cultivator were to use this sword talisman, it would not be impossible to severely injure an intermediate Aurus core stage cultivator. After refining sword talismans for a year, Wang Daoyuan's level of refining weapons and making talismans had greatly improved. Now he could try to refine talismans. While he was in the middle of comprehending, the faint aura of a golden core cultivator came from several hundred kilometers south of Jade Spring Peak. Wang Daoyuan immediately left the cave and rode a cloud towards the south to welcome them. Only when he got closer did he realize that the newcomer was Yu Buqing, the disciple of Immortal Yunhe, the master of the Divine Weapon Pavilion. Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands and said, "Senior Martial Brother, why didn't you inform me that you were coming? I would have made preparations." Yu Buqing smiled and said, "Junior Brother, you don't have to be so courteous. This time, I was entrusted by Martial Uncle to deliver a magic tool to Junior Brother." Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "Let's not talk here. Let's go into the mountains and have a seat." After saying that, he led Yu Buqing to the Jade Spring Peak Auditorium. The two of them sat down as guest and host, and a junior immediately served tea. Yu Buqing smiled and said, "It's only been a dozen years since Junior Brother's Golden Core ceremony. This Jade Spring Peak has really changed a lot. Now, the spirit vein is close to middle grade Tier 4. Even the tea used for guests is Tier 4 spirit tea." Wang Daoyuan waved his hand and said, "Senior Martial Brother, you flatter me. I only had the chance to get this Tier 4 hidden cloud tea because I was guarding True Lord 100 Spirits cave abode. At the last auction in Zhou Nation, I didn't have much spirit tea with me. In the past few years, I've saved up a little more. I can show some respect to Master and Martial Uncle Yunhe. Of course, Senior Martial Brother will also have a share." Tier 4 spirit tea was rare. Divine Weapon Pavilion naturally had some, but not much. Yu Buqing took out a 3-inch long small gourd from his sleeve and said, "Thank you, Junior Martial Brother. This is a magic tool that Martial Uncle refined for you. Have there been any movements from the refined corpses in the north of the mountain?" Wang Daoyuan took the gourd and answered, "A few years ago, there were refined corpses that came south. I cooperated with the half-demons and demons to kill 2 low-grade Tier 4 and 1 middle-grade Tier 4 refined corpse. According to the information obtained by the half-demons and demons, there were a dozen or so refined corpses. Among them, there were 3 high-grade Tier 4 corpses. These were only the refined corpses that had appeared before. There might be even more that hadn't appeared before. They were all hiding in a Yellow Spring secret realm. In that kind of environment, even a half-step Yuanian cultivator would find it hard to gain an advantage. I could only passively defend. Now that I have the magic tool that Master prepared for me, my cultivation has also reached middle grade Aurus core. As long as the refined corpses dare to come south of the mountain, I can completely kill them. Hearing this, Yu Buqing was relieved, but he was still a little surprised. I didn't expect Junior Marshall Brothers' cultivation to improve so quickly. In less than 30 years, you've reached middle grade Oris Core. You're worthy of being a gift from heaven and earth. I'm afraid you'll only need 100 years to reach half-step Yuaning. Wang Daoyuan smiled. Senior Marshall Brother is too kind. How is Master's body? How are Dao Yin and Mingting's cultivations? Yu Buqing answered, Marshall Uncle's body is still healthy. Dao Yin and Mingting have also benefited from your gift from heaven and earth. Their cultivations have improved quite a bit. Dao Yin's cultivation speed isn't fast because he needs to temper his body. After receiving the gift from heaven and earth last time, his body's strength greatly increased and saved him a lot of cultivation time. He's already at late-stage Violet Palace realm and has a chance of forming his gold core within 30 years. Mingting has also opened his Violet Palace realm and his cultivation speed isn't slow. The magic tool that Marshall Uncle prepared for you is no small matter. If someone else were to send it over, he wouldn't feel at ease, so he had me personally make a trip. I still have matters to attend to at Precious Cauldron Mountain and can't stay here for long. Junior Marshall Brother, do you need me to pass a message to Marshall Uncle? Wang Daoyuan took out 3 storage pouches and handed them to Yu Buqing. He smiled and said, the foundation of this administrator's mansion is too weak and there's nothing good. Only this cloud concealment tea is good enough. These 3 pouches of tea are for Master, Marshall Uncle, and Senior Marshall Brother. Please pass a message to Marshall Uncle that I'm now at low-grade 4th level in all 3 of my talisman arrays and tools. I can protect myself and ask him to rest assured. Yu Buqing nodded and said, Junior Marshall Brother, don't worry. I'll definitely pass on the message. It's just that I can't accept this 4th level cloud concealment tea without doing anything. The two pushed for a while before Yu Buqing accepted the cloud concealment tea and took his leave. Marshall Uncle still has 30 years of lifespan. Once he passes away and I'm not at Precious Cauldron Mountain, Junior Marshall Brothers' life won't be easy. It's better to build a good relationship with Daoist Master Yunhe's lineage and take care of Junior Marshall Brother. After sending Yu Buqing off, Wang Daoyuan returned to his cave residence and carefully examined the magic tool prepared by Marshall Uncle. This magic tool was a small gourd that was 3 inches long. It must have been engraved with size-changing formation patterns or tool patterns. Since Yu Buqing kept it in his sleeve and didn't put it in the space of the spiritual bead, it must be a spatial treasure. Wang Daoyuan injected spiritual power into it, and the small gourd immediately grew into a large gourd that was more than a foot long. This gourd was black with some silver light and there were obvious fluctuations of star power. It should be refined from meteorites. After dripping blood on the gourd to recognize it as its master, he found a jade slip, 2 animal skin pages, and a few stones of different sizes in the gourd. The animal skin pages recorded the refining method of this gourd. This gourd was called the meteorite fire controlling gourd. The outer shell was refined from a mid-grade 4th level meteorite. There was a space of 500 square feet inside the gourd. At the bottom of the gourd, there was an egg-sized star core, which was the core of the entire gourd. The so-called star core was the core of a star. The stars in the void were also constantly being born and dying. The star core was extremely strong and wasn't easy to destroy. After the star died, it would be preserved. The star power within it would constantly dissipate and its grade would gradually decrease. These star cores wandered in the endless void and sometimes fell like ordinary meteorites. This was how the star core in the meteorite gourd came about. The star core contained extremely rich star power. Whether it was refining the body or refining tools, it was extremely valuable. Chapter 561. The reason why the meteorite fire controlling gourd could restrain the refined corpse was because of this fire. The power of the stars contained the 5 elements, so naturally, it could also contain the 5 elements spiritual fire. This gourd would automatically absorb spiritual energy and store it in the space inside. If a wisp of rootless fire could be placed inside, the gourd and the star core inside would protect the rootless fire from extinguishing. The rootless fire would also borrow the spiritual energy absorbed by the gourd to continuously strengthen itself. Without the spiritual fire, a flame condensed from a fire attribute spell could also have the same effect. The possibility of the rootless fire nurturing the spiritual fire in the gourd was not high. Without a fire seed, no one had ever succeeded in nurturing a fire seed with the rootless fire. If a pseudo-spiritual fire was created and placed in this fire-controlling gourd, it would be more realistic to nurture the spiritual fire. Because of the power of the stars, the 5-element spiritual fire could coexist in this meteorite fire-controlling gourd. It was too troublesome to nurture the pseudo-spiritual fire. Let's try putting the rootless fire in first. After drawing out the rootless fire of the 5-element spiritual fire, he placed it in the meteorite fire-controlling gourd. The 5 wisps of flames automatically gathered on the star core and did not interfere with each other. Other than nurturing the flames, the meteorite fire-controlling gourd could also increase the power of the flames. In the case where the space in the gourd was not filled with spiritual energy, it could absorb the opponent's attack. This could also be considered a bit of a defensive function. As long as the opponent's attack was not too strong, there would be no problem. To Wang Daoyuan, the biggest use of this meteorite fire-controlling gourd was to allow him to use the 5-element spiritual fire. In the future, if someone saw through using the 5-element spiritual fire to defend against the enemy, he could push the blame to the gourd. This gourd was refined by spiritual master Lei Yan. He was the top blacksmith in the world. It was normal for the magical equipment refined by him to have some mystical aspects. Even if some people were suspicious, Wang Daoyuan was not afraid. No one would be able to find evidence. Wang Daoyuan was no longer a small figure that anyone could mess with. Even without his master and divine weapon pavilion as his backing, he was not someone who could be touched just based on suspicion. After reading the refining method, he looked at the jade slip again. It recorded some of his master's words. This gourd was a magical equipment created by spiritual master Lei Yan based on the advantage of Wang Daoyuan having the 5-element spiritual fire. It was one of the best magic tools he had ever refined in his life, and it was also likely to be the last magic tool he had ever created. He hoped that Wang Daoyuan could learn how to refine the meteorite fire-controlling gourd and not let his efforts go to waste. Among the stones inside the gourd, there were 2 egg-sized star cores, and the rest were meteorites. These materials were enough to refine 2 meteorite fire-controlling gourds. Although the star core was dark and swarthy, it was extremely valuable whether it was used to refine tools or temper the body. An egg-sized star core could be sold for 10 million spirit stones and there would be people fighting over it. Fortunately, Beiyuan Xiaoxin couldn't break through to Yuanyin now. Otherwise, using the power of the stars to temper the body and increase the success rate of breaking through would be worth several times more. Wang Daoyuan currently did not have the ability to refine the meteorite fire-controlling gourd, so he decided to keep the materials for now. This gourd was able to absorb the spiritual energy of the 5 elements. Naturally, it would be better to put it in the space of the spirit pearl. After the meteorite fire-controlling gourd was put into the space of the spirit pearl, it floated in the air and the speed of absorbing spiritual energy instantly increased. In just a few minutes, the space inside the gourd was filled with spiritual energy, and the rootless fire on the star core burned even more vigorously. He could also feel that the gourd was absorbing purple energy. Although the amount was not large, it was very stable. Purple energy was formed by the fusion of yin and yang energy. It was not part of the 5 elements. Logically speaking, the meteorite fire-controlling gourd should not be able to absorb it. Absorbing purple energy was an extremely difficult task. As far as he knew, Beiyuan Xiaoxin did not have a tool pattern that could absorb purple energy. In order to cultivate the purple cloud tree, the 4 top forces had used all kinds of methods, but they could only let the purple energy exist for a while. If there was a way to absorb purple energy, would there be a need to spend so much effort? Since it was not a problem with the tool pattern, it could be a problem with the materials. The meteorite fire-controlling gourd was made of 2 materials, meteorites and star cores. Meteorites were not considered a very precious material. When he had asked his master about the power of the stars, his master had given him a few third-grade meteorites. When these meteorites were put into the space of the spiritual pearl, there was no abnormality. Wang Daoyuan still had a few fourth-grade mid-grade meteorites. After putting them into the space of the spiritual pearl, he did not absorb any purple energy. Since there was no problem with the meteorites, it could only be the star cores. He put the 2 star cores in his hands into the space of the spiritual pearl, and they floated in the air by themselves. Moreover, when the 2 star cores entered the space of the spiritual pearl, they began to absorb the purple energy violently. In addition to the purple energy, they were also absorbing pure yin and pure yang energy. Perhaps because the star core in the gourd had been refined into a part of the magic tool, the absorption speed was affected. The gourd's absorption speed was far slower than the 2 star cores. The absorption speed of the purple cloud tree was not qualified to be compared with the star cores. After a day, Wang Daoyuan took out a star core and carefully examined it with his divine sense. This star core had been absorbing purple energy in the space for more than 40 days, but there was no trace of purple energy in it. Instead, the power of the stars had increased slightly. Although the increase was very subtle, he could still detect it with his divine sense. Master once said that the power of the stars contained both yin and yang, including the 5 elements. The purple energy was also formed by the intersection of yin and yang energy. Now, the star core was absorbing the purple energy to increase the power of the stars. Wang Daoyuan guessed that the 2 should be the same kind of energy. The power of the stars might be a higher form of existence than the purple energy. The star core was something left behind after a star was destroyed. It had the function of transforming the purple energy into the power of the stars. Although the 2 star cores and the meteorite fire controlling gourd absorbed the purple energy, it did not affect the growth of the purple cloud tree. The absorption speed of the purple cloud tree was too slow. Before it could absorb a large amount of purple energy, it dissipated on its own. Now that it was absorbed by the star core and transformed into the power of the stars, it was also recycling waste. The star core was once the core of a star. Naturally, its grade could not be estimated. After the star was destroyed, the power of the stars dissipated and its grade gradually decreased. Now that there was a supply of purple energy, the power of the stars in the star core would slowly increase. The more power of the stars there was, the higher the grade. In time, they might even become 2 stars. With his current cultivation, the purple energy did not have much effect on him. On the other hand, the power of the stars could grow the star spirit fruit and brew the 100-fruit wine, increasing his strength in all aspects. In the future, when his cultivation reached the peak of the golden core stage, he could also extract the power of the stars from the star core to temper his body and soul, increasing his chances of breaking through to the yuanying stage. Exchanging the purple energy for the power of the stars, this was a great deal. The meteorite fire controlling gourd and the star core were very suitable to be nurtured in the space of the spirit pearl. Wang Daoyuan did not need them for the time being, so he simply let them stay in the space of the spirit pearl. He had to quickly refine a few talismans to increase the strength of the clan to deal with the upcoming threat. Low-grade 4th-grade talismans were mainly used by Zifu realm cultivators. If he wanted to threaten a golden core cultivator, he naturally had to pursue lethality. Among the 9 elements, the lightning element was the most lethality. However, the clan did not have any lightning element cultivators and was unable to replenish the talisman's spiritual energy. The metal and fire element talismans had the most lethality. The metal element was strong in breaking through defenses, while the fire element was strong in explosiveness and a large lethality. Golden core cultivators had many methods. Even if a Zifu realm cultivator had a talisman, the probability of hitting a golden core cultivator was not high. There was not much meaning in breaking through defenses. The fire element's explosiveness and lethality were more useful. This talisman was mainly made of fire element talismans, so it was easy to replenish fire element spiritual energy. There was no lack of fire element spiritual energy in the earth fire. The scale of the clan's refining and refining of pills was also relatively large. If they relied on spiritual charcoal, the price would be too high. In the future, they would open an earth fire room and use it to refine pills and tools. The spiritual charcoal saved every year would be sold to the administrator's residence, which could also earn a sum of spirit stones for the clan. Chapter 562. In the weapon talisman inheritance that Wang Daoyuan obtained from his master, there were many ways to refine spirit talismans. Even if they were not used together with weapon refinement techniques, they were still a set of legacy talismans alone. The weapon talisman that he wanted to refine was called the Heavenly Fire Prairie Badge. Once activated, a radius of 30 miles would be turned into a sea of fire, and it could severely injure or even kill ordinary early-stage golden core cultivators. The Heavenly Fire Prairie Badge was similar to Perfected Thunderflame's Purple Thunder Evil Slaying Badge. First, a palm-sized round badge was refined using weapon refinement techniques before inscribing runes on it. The difficulty of refining the badge was not high. However, the runes of the talisman were extremely complicated, and the inscribing of the runes had to be done in one go. If there were any interruptions or mistakes during the inscribing of the weapon runes, there was still a chance to remedy it. If there were any mistakes during the inscribing of the runes, the entire process would be wasted. Refining the token did not consume much Tier 4 refining materials, so he could still afford to fail a few more times. With the foundation left behind from refining sword talismans, he only failed 3 times before successfully refining a Heavenly Fire Prairie Badge. This Heavenly Fire Prairie Badge was slightly stronger than his master's Purple Thunder Evil Slaying Badge. Of course, it was not in terms of power but in terms of being able to replenish spirit energy multiple times. Perfected Thunderflame did not know much about spirit talismans, and the Purple Thunder Evil Slaying Badge that he refined could only be used 3 times. It could not be replenished once its spirit energy was depleted. On the other hand, the Heavenly Fire Prairie Badge that Wang Daoyuan refined could be used 3 times when it was filled with spirit energy. As long as the badge was not destroyed, it could continuously replenish spirit energy. He spent another 3 months to refine 6 Heavenly Fire Prairie Badges. 5 Heaven Sealing Sword Prison Talismans and 7 Heavenly Fire Prairie Badges were basically enough. Grade 4 low-grade sword talismans and weapon talismans could only deal with early-stage golden core cultivators. What the Wang family was going to face was not just early-stage golden core cultivators. Even if he refined more sword talismans and weapon talismans, they would not be able to deal with mid-stage and late-stage golden core cultivators. He could only rely on himself to deal with opponents above mid-stage golden core. To protect the family, the most important thing was still his own strength. After refining the talisman, Wang Daoyuan called the 12th uncle and the 3rd brother over. The 2 of them arrived at the Immortal's cave. Wang Daoyuan opened all of the restrictive spells, then took out the sword talisman and the artifact talisman. He said, "These are the Heaven Seal Sword Prison Talisman and the Skyfire Prairie Command. These 2 items could be used 3 times each. After using them up, he could use them again after replenishing his spiritual energy. However, the sword talisman could only be replenished by sword cultivators, while the Prairie Blazing Heavenly Fire Writ could be replenished by any fire attribute cultivator. Even if he didn't have any fire attribute spirit energy, he could still replenish his spirit energy by placing it near a fire attribute spirit vein. The country of Zhao won't be peaceful for the next few decades. If something happens, I'll have to rely on myself to deal with it. You guys also need to have the ability to deal with golden core cultivators. This is what our family relies on to protect itself, so I'll leave it to you. I will find a suitable place to open up the Earth Fire Room on Jade Spring Peak. After that, I'll go into seclusion and cultivate. You guys can discuss how to use these items." The 2 of them had expressions of pleasant surprise and astonishment. Even the 3 sects of the country of Zhao couldn't refine 4th-grade talismans on their own. Now, there were more than 10 of them placed in front of them. Wang Daoyuan didn't care about what they thought. He directly walked out of the Immortal's cave and searched for a suitable place to open up the Earth Fire Room on Jade Spring Peak. Once the earth fire room was completed, it would become the core area for the family to refine tools and pills. Therefore, the location of the earth fire room had to be sufficiently safe, and it could only be built within the range of the myriad water origin formation. Jade Spring Peak had a low-grade 4th-grade water attribute spirit vein and a large spirit spring. If one wanted to build an earth fire room in such a place, they had to avoid spirit veins and underground water veins. The spirit veins and water veins of Jade Spring Peak extended from the northeast. The Jade Dragon Spring was in the middle of Jade Spring Peak, and the spring water flowed southwest. Therefore, they couldn't build an earth fire room in the northeast or southwest of Jade Spring Peak. Wang Daoyuan searched for suitable locations in the southeast and northwest of Jade Spring Peak. After a few days of exploration, he finally decided to open up the earth fire room halfway up the mountain in the southeast direction of Jade Spring Peak. There was a flat area where crimson-scaled pine and a few stalks of blood dragon wood were planted to provide charcoal for the medicine hall and the refining hall. This place was more than 5 kilometers away from the spirit veins and water veins, and the rock formation was relatively intact without any cracks. It was very suitable for opening up an earth fire room. In order to not expose his methods, he didn't inform anyone and directly entered the ground, using the dust origin flame to open up in underground space. Before he established his Violet Palace, he had stayed in the earth fire room of the Netherworld Sex Refining Hall for a few years. Therefore, he had a good understanding of the earth fire room. Now that he wanted to build an earth fire room, he wouldn't be in the dark. In the future, if the family wanted to develop and expand, Jade Spring Peak would still be the core on the surface. The scale of the earth fire room couldn't be too small. Wang Daoyuan planned to imitate the Netherworld Sex Refining Hall's underground refining workshop. He would first open up a cylindrical underground space and build a circular corridor along the stone walls. He would open up small earth fire rooms on the stone walls. Every small earth fire room had a fire eye that could be used to refine pills and refine tools. The cylindrical underground space didn't need to be too big. It would be about 150 meters in diameter. Opening up an earth fire room still had a certain amount of risk. No one knew what level of fire spiritual energy was contained in the underground lava. If it was at the level of a 3rd-rank spiritual vein, he wouldn't need to be too concerned. Before digging through the rock formation, it would be enough to use a formation to slightly suppress the lava and draw out the earth fire. If it was at the level of a 4th-rank spiritual vein, Wang Daoyuan would have to be careful. 4th-rank lava was quite a threat to golden core cultivators. He would need to set up an intricate formation to suppress the lava. If he didn't make proper preparations, he would rashly dig down. Once he dug through the rock formation and the lava gushed out, it would be a matter of life and death. As for what kind of situation it would be clear once he saw through the fire spiritual energy in the rock formation when he dug a few hundred meters away from the lava. Long before he broke through to the middle stage of the golden core realm, the 5-element spiritual fire had already grown to the level of a 4th-rank spiritual flame. There was no need to mention the speed of burning the rock formation with a mid-grade 4th-rank spiritual flame. In just 3 days, he had dug out an underground space with a diameter of 150 meters and a depth of 90,000 meters. Another 400 to 500 meters down would be the lava. Wang Daoyuan felt the fire spiritual energy in this place. It was indeed not too strong. The lava below was at most a 3rd-rank spiritual flame. This way, there was nothing to be afraid of. After that, he wasn't in a hurry to dig through the remaining rock formation. Instead, he first inscribed formation patterns in the surroundings. He set up a 4th-rank low-grade fire controlling formation to suppress the lava. This was to prevent the lava from gushing out and turning the Jade Spring Peak into a volcano. This time, the progress was relatively slow. It took him 2 months to dig through the rock formation. With the 4th-rank fire controlling formation suppressing it, the lava was unable to surge upwards. Wang Daoyuan used the dust-returning flame to burn a circular corridor on the walls of the cylindrical underground space. Along the corridor, he opened up small earth fire rooms. What was left was to guide the earth fire from the fire controlling formation to each small earth fire room and set up a formation to protect the earth fire rooms. These things weren't difficult, but they were particularly cumbersome. He left them to his little uncle and the people of the formation hall. There was no need for him to do it personally. He broke through the underground space and returned to the surface. A rich fire spiritual energy gushed out. All the cultivators on the mountain could clearly feel the change in spiritual energy. The 12th uncle and the 3rd brother came to investigate. When they saw Wang Daoyuan here and the fire spiritual energy gushing out from the ground, the two of them had a look of disbelief. The 12th uncle asked, "It's only been a few days, and the earth fire rooms are already completed?" Wang Daoyuan replied, "Penta spirit veins cultivators have many tricks up their sleeves. What's this small matter? I've already set up the fire controlling formation to suppress the lava. What's left is to guide the earth fire and set up the defensive formation. 3rd brother, you can arrange for the people of the formation hall to do it. I have something to do and need to leave the Jade Spring Peak. If there's something you can't solve, just send me a message." After he finished speaking, he concealed his figure and left the Jade Spring Peak, heading towards the returning Wild Goose Market. He had delayed a few years because of the sword talismans and the tool talismans. It was time to cultivate properly. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.